everybody, welcome back to the Danger Planet. Today, we're talking the September 2024 Malifaux Errata.
I've got a burning feeling about Sonya.
There's an ointment that's good for that.
All right, it is that time of year again. We've got another Errata video. Douglas, say hello to the internet.
Hello, the internet.
Samuel, say hello to the internet. It's been a while since we've gotten all three of us on the channel. And of course, today we're joined by your friend and mine, Haku.
Hello,
the Haku. And he carries with him the
good
spirit of
friends
Pope DARPA.
Mine across the internets.
Yeah, and you're just a few blocks down the road in a local suburb of Boston. So, you know, it's...
And, hold on, and the spirit of Pope DARPA. He's here with us in spirit.
And the spirit of Pope DARPA. Yeah, he couldn't make it tonight, but...
whatever culvert he's lying in, I'm sure he's having a great time.
Did you say Culver's? Holy shit, I love Culver's, Sam. It's so good.
That's
Culver's
definitely what I said.
It's a really good store.
Dude, I love
the chicken
Culver's.
place, right?
Haku took me to Culver's. No, it's like it's burger and butter burgers and ice cream.
Burger, cheese. They're known for cheese because it's a Wisconsin starting chain.
They're known for cheese?
Yeah. Haku took me to one when we were in Chicago last.
Oh, cheese curds is so good.
Yeah. yeah. It's and their burgers, they're butter burgers. They literally cook them in butter. It's ridiculous. So, if you're ever in Chicago, shout out at Culver's. Maybe they'll give us a sponsorship.
Shout out for
the vague Midwest works for Culver's.
Yeah, my brother took his baby to Culver's, and she got a little bib that said, "I'm a butter burger baby."
All right, so now we need to make the butter burger transition into the Malifaux Errata transition. We're going to do it super gracefully and super skillfully. Watch this. You know who loves butter burgers?
Damian Ravencroft.
Butter burgers.
Damian Ravencroft.
Malifaux Erratas.
Unfortunately, Damian Ravencroft has no memories of the yellow burger. So we'll just have to... Okay. So, we're just going to hit the ground running. There's a PDF also, if you check out our Patreon, that you can check out that I threw up in a public post last night as of recording that links them all side by side, which is the document that we're using. It's really cool. Check it out. That's what I got. So, Damian Ravencroft, aspirant. Damian 1, as the kids know him. He has gotten a bit of a nerf. I'll try not to be too down on it, but... I think a lot of people were really excited about him being nerfed, quite frankly, because he was a little good, you know? So firstly, he gained a health, which is nice, but he fully lost memories of the Yellow Crypt, his ability to shield or move witness models when you add a card of 9 or greater to the configuration. His Knowledge is Power ability has had a complete rework. It is now Masks additive, but until the end phase, the target can't reduce damage through effects other than Soul Stones. It no longer does damage of any kind on its own, and the mask that's built in gives him a reposition trigger. So those are the pretty minor changes. But Haku, what do you think?
I think this was rightfully deserved, and I think irreducible damage is a generally unfun mechanic to most people, so... I think most people are decently excited about that change, especially when it gets up to 3. Like, 1 pings of irreducible, kind of acceptable. Bopping somebody for 3, ugh.
Yeah, so, it's rough for sure.
Yeah, I think having his special, can't be reduced by other than Soul Stones is kind of nice. Just better analyze weakness. Built-in mass trigger, cool. He can move 3 now.
Yeah.
Do you think he's move 3? If you just
do you think he's still playable, Haku, at a high level? You think?
Oh yeah, for sure, without a single doubt.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, then it means that I think they landed. That's like good, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to be more situational, like when you want his crew, because his crew is inherently still very strong, even if the master is like a little bit back now. Obviously, not being able to free move people 2 inches is huge, but 1 extra HP is nice, and you didn't need the irreducible damage. It was kind of a little overkill sometimes, but consistency is nice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think the irreducible was kind of like a free real estate button that you could push, and it could allow you to really effectively tip combat math in a lot of different situations. And taking that away, I still think like he's good. He's just he kind of falls off at the top triple S tier level a little bit.
Yeah.
Also, maybe you don't want him against people that have a lot of armor anymore. I mean, even though you can, knowledge is power them, you still not being able to do the damage immediately is pretty bad.
Yeah. What do you think, Dr. Barrows Fishman Esquire III?
I think they did a really good job this time in not targeting the ability that everyone complained about, which was maintain order, and instead targeting the stuff that like actually was busted and made him good. Like maintain order is a much more annoying ability, and it's a really negative play experience. And I think it might have merited a nerf on that. But Memories of the Yellow Crypt is like 10 times stronger a rule, and that just needed. There was no version of that rule that was fair. And I also think that hopefully this will enable a more interesting playstyle for the crew that's not just like use a bunch of Memories of the Yellow Crypt to push Damien into position and then have him be just like a gun turret.
Yeah.
That uses his impossibly good hand to just like remove a model with no counterplay. So yeah, I think these are good changes. I think, I agree with everything you guys said. Still going to see play.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to call out that I think this is a good sort of, there was some insight on the part of Wyrd to nerf the right thing here.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll actually see some Damien too now that he's not being overshadowed by his big brother.
Yeah, I think that's a good call out too. It's like, I love these types of changes where I would call them like artfully applied. I think I agree with you, Sam. They identified the correct thing to kind of modulate and change. They tweaked it as necessary. We ended up with a still very playable master, which is great. And that other point you just made, which is, maybe this makes people look at the new version of Damien 2, which I've heard almost no one talking about. And like, maybe that opens up some new stuff. I think this is an example of taking a relatively problem-based model that was saturating the high end of competitive play and bringing him down to earth in a way that still makes him playable. And I'm a huge fan of that. That's my takeaway. So
yeah, even though that wasn't that big of a nerf as, let's say, the last time they nerfed the Damien model, Arcanists got one other big errata in this errata pass, which was the showgirl, who got a massive glow up. I think.
Yeah.
They really wanted to differentiate her from a lot of the other performer models, and they felt that she fell behind. So what they've done is they've taken this model. They have removed Manipulative and instead given her a new ability called Backup Dancer. It reduces all damage suffered by friendly living performer models with an Aura 3 by 1. So it's like crew armor that radiates out from her, which is super, super cool.
That you can't anti-tech against, really.
And it's just...
for Damien.
Well...
Sure.
If you can't reduce, you can't reduce, right? But not to a minimum of 0, worth pointing out. So it won't hit 1 damage and turn it to 0, but it will hit 2 damage and turn it into 1, and it's, nearby armor, and it stacks with armor. It's really cool. Like,
and it stacks with shielded.
Stacks with shielded.
Reduces 0, kind of.
Yeah, well, the shielded does the 0, but yeah. They also took her entire back of card, and outside of the 30 mil base, changed every single part of it. Although it wasn't drastic changes, they kind of just shifted abilities from one end of the spectrum to the other. So her melee attack, instead of Sharp Hairpin, is now Unassuming Demeanor, which still does 1, 2, 3, but it automatically treats all neg flips as if they were positive flips. And it has still the beautiful close trigger for Distracted, but no more unexpected ferocity. Instead of Lure, they've given her Beckon and Call, which lets you move a target towards a model friendly to the showgirl in its line of sight. And it has a Crow built in for Starstruck, which until the end phase makes the target get a neg flip to any actions targeting the showgirl, which is also very cool. And it also has a reposition trigger now. Completely removed is Seduction, and instead of it being that, she has a new ability called Wow the Audience, which is a 6 willpower duel that makes the target discard a card, and then if it was engaged by a friendly performer model, it gains Distracted, which isn't going to end your focus as well as Seduction would, but it's still pretty rad. But there's no triggers on that, and then it just gained Onward. So 3 AP, interact, walk, interact is pretty wild. Haku, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be higher than every performer crew, at least one of, and I'm pretty sure pretty much no one hired this model before, so it's a pretty great bonus. I mean, just a 3 AP pseudo armor model, ignoring the fact that it is auraing out that armor, was already probably good enough with Don't Mind Me. Ignoring the fact that Interax also gave Distracted 1 to enemies, it's a really annoying model now, who can't just be one shot by someone, with a severe 5 focusing attacking her. And that was like the main reason why you would never want this model. It's like, oh, it's manipulative. Okay, I don't I don't really care. I'm just gonna focus hit you and then cheat the severe for damage. Bye.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's really two reasons that people don't hire 5 Soulstone models, and I think we're just starting to identify why that is and what you need to do to make people hire them. One is you need to not be one shot by a stat 6 3 4 5, and the other is you need to be able to meaningfully have 3 AP. Like, it's so hard in this game for models that don't have 3 AP all the time to do anything, to like get traction. And Onward is about as close as you get to like just being fast all the time. I guess Nimble is a little bit better, but yeah, I mean, I think she's fine. I think she both of those problems have been addressed. You're going to see her in Performer. You're not going to see her out of Keyword. Good success.
Doug, are you going to be hiring showgirls?
Yeah. So my whole thing is, I am hyped about this because I have been playing Colette 2 for a bit. I was teaching myself Colette 2 and Rasputina 1 and 2. And this gives me a great model that can hold magical training, and I can be really excited about. Previously, the only other models I felt awesome about putting magical training on was silent ones. I feel great about putting magical training on this specific model. And it's definitely going to be probably an auto-include holding magical training for most of my Colette 2 lists.
Yeah, dude, these guys these gals and guys and everything in between are absolutely magical training to the fun.
I think the interesting question now is, as a Colette 2 player or a Colette player in general, is deciding when and how you're going to either have one of these or you're going to have, I think they're called Blackbirds, right? The new minions that are 1 cost more, that they're also living. I feel like they kind of take up the same spot, and they do kind of different stuff. I need to test Blackbirds, but I'm curious to see what I end up playing more, either a Blackbird with magical training as my like slot in, hold magical training slot, or a Showgirl with magical. I'm probably right now more excited about Showgirls.
I think it's going to be, yeah, I don't know. I think the big difference will be,
situational.
Are you going to go in with the model or not? Like Blackbird, you can keep him back, where it's like, oh, you want to interact on strat markers? Well, Showgirl's great then.
Yeah.
Or if you put Reservoir on her, you kind of will want to be like hiding her behind walls where her aura peeks out to your guys.
Yeah, I know. I think you're right. It's also situational. Like the get off the stage, I think it's called get off the stage, right? That the Blackbird has is also spicy. That thing's crazy. So yeah, we'll see. I'm gonna test both. I think they're both viable, and excited that we have a new really fun option for her for one of probably my favorite Arcanist Master, honestly.
Damn.
So,
well, speaking of fun, we have the game's resident fun faction, the faction with the goofy nonsense. And there's no way, I think, to better encapsulate goofy nonsense than McTavish. This is a model that has been in the game forever. I don't know, Sam, Mark 1, Haku? Is he that old or is he Mark 2?
I think he was Mark 2.
Yeah. I know there was a metal model, that's why I asked.
Yeah, he was never metal, I don't think.
No, he
was second
I don't remember
edition.
metal one for him.
All right, well, nonetheless, there was a very weird, goofy version. So McTavish has gotten some pretty radical changes. Firstly, he is the same cost and same health. He's lost Penetrating Stench, the Zoraida sort of keyworded faction ability, and instead has gained Demise Camouflage. So once per turn, after this model is killed, it can discard a card to heal 4 and drop a ski marker into base contact with itself, which is wild. And he kept On the Move, Unimpeded, and Expert Shot, but has gained sort of a reposition of his bonus action in Swamp Screen as an ability. The ability says enemy models treat friendly ski markers within Aura 6 of this model as concealing terrain. So if he Demise Camouflages once per turn, then he'll have concealing on future attacks, theoretically, if they're ranged. His Savage Bite went down a stat, so it's 5 now. His Long Carbine, however, went up a stat. His Savage Bite also lost the Execute trigger, but kept Puncture. And Long Carbine kept its Maim, but gained 2 new triggers in Armor Piercing and I Can Dig It, so he can drop ski markers into base contact with himself on a Crow. And then his bonus action Gator Snack was completely reworked into a new action called Gator Scramble, which is a stat 6 with a target number of 8, which I don't know if there is a lower one, but I think it's at least tied for the lowest TN in the game of any Suitless 2. And it's target a marker in your line of sight, push this model 2 inches towards the target, and it has 2 mask triggers for Quick Shot and Reposition. It has a Surge trigger, and it has another I Can Dig It trigger. Haku.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. I know some people are super excited about it. I think it's probably pretty good. I'm gonna look at it from the Neverborn Zerata perspective because that's the only way I interact with gremlin models.
Rad. Yeah, I think this is my only...
Getting Burb's heart Eternal Demise is kind of insane.
Yeah.
I don't know why they needed to make Demise Eternal better, but, you know, that's amazing. The concealing thing is just going to be super obnoxious. But other than that, it's like, does he replace what Bad Juju does? And maybe. I mean, the fact that, like, if you don't want, like, a go in and, like, melee someone to death anymore, he's now just, like, a good range alternative to for Zerata, and 245 is a pretty decent gun line. It's not like amazing, but it's, you know, really solid. And
yeah, I mean,
concealment. So
245 on a henchman with armor piercing, right?
Yeah, and that's the big thing is you definitely can now take something relevant to deal with armor in Zerata, and that's actually a little huge. So having armor piercing on him is really nice. Maim is always a good trigger, and the I Can Dig It's are really interesting because you can shoot your own guys just to get them to go off to get scheme markers by him, and that might be a very, very viable thing to do. And I think you'll see it a good chunk of the time.
Yeah, wild. Well, Sam, you play Bayou. What's going on? McTavish, you gonna play him?
Oh yeah, probably. I mean, so I don't play Zerata, so it's a little bit like it's hard for me to, you know, say with certainty how good he's going to be because the crew he's going to be the best in is a crew I don't play. But I mean, Bayou has a lot of good guns, so he's not like unique in having a good gun, but he's a really durable gun, which is not something Bayou has too many of. And the Can You Dig It is a trigger that we've seen before and is really strong. Like the ability to just like theoretically this guy can go shoot you, can you dig it? Shoot you, can you dig it? Scooch towards like a marker, and then can you dig it again? Right, because he has it on his bonus, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, so
I can dig it.
Drop 3 scheme markers in action.
3, or you can do things like, because you have 3 AP, each of which can drop a scheme marker and do something else. You can like walk, shoot, scoot, scheme marker, or you can be like focus, shoot you with focus, scheme marker, scoot, scheme marker. Like you don't really often need 3 scheme markers in this GG, but you often need 2. And the fact that he can, any combination of 2 actions can do 2 scheme markers while also doing other stuff is just really, really good. And then you add that to the fact that he just can't be removed easily. I think he's great. I think that I would, 9 stones is a lot, but I think he does a lot. So in marker heavy pools, I can totally see it.
Yeah.
The only downside is that a lot of these Bayou keywords that are good are very synergistic, and he doesn't synergize with anyone who's not Swamp Fiend. Nuts in Swamp Fiend though. Holy hell. Ensorcel that guy.
Yeah.
Or like even in Zerata too, give him a stat 7 gun.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
let's go.
7 gun's nice. Honestly, his attack at stat 6 is kind of, I mean,
Zerata 2 also feeds him
really
cards
nice.
and focus.
Yeah.
All right,
yeah.
Doug, you wrangling this gator or this?
Yeah, I'm hyped for McTavish. This guy's gonna be dope.
What a wild
Barrow's
thing to
Fisherman,
say. I'm hyped for McTavish. Holy crap.
So Barrow's Fisherman Esquire III is absolutely right in literally everything he said. I mean, he is the Gremlin King, so it makes sense that he would have a strong opinion that would be accurate. My misgivings here are very few, but they exist. One of them is he's 9 soulstones, and 9 soulstones in this particular economy.
In this economy?
Is pricey. In this economy, it's pricey. You got to make a business decision about why he's in the list actively, but there's a lot of reasons for him to be in the list. One of which is ranged, consistent marker dropping. Another is stonable, armor-piercing, high-quality attacks. The downside that I see to his attack is that it's a 2-4-5, right? And I think one of the most important lessons I ever learned from Jim Dyson when he has continued to teach me the game at a high level is that 2-4-5 damage tracks fucking love focus, right? And my keywords that I usually bring to the table in Bayou currently have been Summerteeth Jones and Mawtucket 1. And Mawtucket 1 feeds free focus pretty early and can do it consistently over the course of the game. And Summerteeth Jones fast action, because I play Summer 1 specifically, also feeds focus. So this strikes me as a really decent gun line option. You bring it when armor piercing is a big deal, or you bring it when You need to drop markers at range on either friendly or enemies. And you just have to be careful about working into the list because it's a cost 9 model, but the demise is fucking awesome. The fact that you ignore everything except for cover is really good because you're expert shot plus ignore concealment on the gun. I've heard some people bemoan the fact that his melee is only a stat 5, but I think if you're hyper focusing on that, you're kind of missing the forest for the woods in terms of what this model is good at. You want him to be taking shot actions, and you want him to be taking shot actions into either relevant armored targets or to manipulate the ability to I can dig it all over the fucking place.
Yeah. Also, there's a better versatile gator if you want to punch things in the face.
Well, Bashy is the greatest model ever in Malifaux for any reason, and I will die on that hill. You can come and fight me at the Danger Planet. Bashy, best model ever for any reason. She's the best.
Wow. Also, I guess my only question about this model is, does Gator Scramble imply that there are gator eggs in the scramble, or is it a scramble made for gators? Sam?
I think that it is a scramble of gator eggs that is also for gators because they're cannibals.
Agreed.
God damn it. No. Okay. All right. Let's pop right along to the other Bayou change. Uncle Bogg. Can I just say, it's okay, everyone. He can still bring his friend Richard. And we at the Danger Planet are particularly passionate about our friends Richard, and we're very glad that change did not. That didn't change.
Our friend Richard is very important to us. Yeah. We love him.
Yeah.
He is a mod on the channel.
Shout out to Richard.
We're glad that he's
get in the comments.
Shout out to Richard.
Get in the comments. So Uncle Bogg still costs 9, still 9 health. They didn't give him any new abilities, but they took 2 away. He has lost inclement weather, so after this model's activation, drop a severe tide marker in base contact. So he doesn't just auto drop a tide marker anymore. He also lost uninvited guests at the end of this model's activation. If it is on the enemy table half, pulse 3, TN willpower, TN 13 willpower duel, or gain distracted. So those are both gone. His melee ability, Tear Apart, also lost its baked in suit for Tear Off a Bite, but it still has the same triggers and it's still the same attack. His Off the Path also changed up a little bit. All the stats and the basic action are the same, but Gremlin Table Manners has been removed, and he now has Sinkhole, so he gets to drop a tide marker, or Disturbing Sight as a trigger, so he can pulse Distracted 1 2 models within one of the target for Off the Path, which is actually really good because it's, interactable distracted, and no other changes. Haku, what do you think?
Thank Christ. Jesus Christ. This model's so annoying to play against, especially uninvited guests. It's just so... it's just annoying. Yeah. Not having Tear Off a Bite built in too is also very satisfying, because he'd be like, oh, I almost killed this guy, and then he just goes, he attacks you, heals 4 on his turn, and you just go, oh, okay, well, that was fun. So now he actually has to stone or have the ram for it.
Minor changes, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's not gonna kill the model for sure. I think this is very similar to the Damien, where I think they're just bringing it in line with kind of where the rest of the crews are, but we'll see. I definitely think he was a little overtuned, and he's probably appropriately tuned now. Because admittedly, most of the other changes were just kind of gravy. Maybe they removed a bit too much of the gravy, like dropping his tide marker at the end. But I don't know. Yeah. I think it was a decent, just slight side grade or a little downgrade to bring him in line.
Yeah, Sam, what do you think? We still hired?
Yeah, I mean, I've been saying since I literally read Madness of Malifaux for the first time that this guy shouldn't have Tear Off a Bite built in. That was just super, super egregious. So, I mean, I've heard people complaining about him. I don't get the complaints. He does exactly the same thing he did before, which is he off the paths. He just has a little bit of a harder, he off the paths, he sits in a place not dying, and he's annoying. He just is slightly worse at all that stuff. In addition to losing the healing, you have to work a little to get a tide marker on him, although really you don't have to work very much. That crew poops tide markers everywhere. The thing nobody mentioned is they changed Weary Road for a version of Weary Road that doesn't do both things and has a TN. I think at this point I'm comfortable saying Wyrd is done printing Weary Road on models, which is good because it's just totally cracked.
I totally missed that.
That's the actual most significant nerf, is that he lost Weary Road. He now can't do both things, and he also needs a TN, which he already has got a fairly significant TN that you have to hit. So there's thought there.
I don't know if it's worse. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't happen automatically, so you do need a 6 for it to go off. It's still friendly only. You still get to move.
You can pick up enemy scheme markers now with it, or any marker. Like, you can pick up any marker he pushes into. I mean, that's the reason it has a TN on it now, right? Because it's better Weary Road.
I don't think it's better. I think the TN matters, especially in the version of this crew that is the more commonly played one, which is the title version, because that crew doesn't have card draw, or it doesn't have very much card draw. So,
sure.
I mean, look, I think he's still great. I think he's going to show up in 150% of Angler lists. You'd have to be completely high to be playing Angler and not playing this guy. So
no, Sam, I will be completely high and playing Angler.
Yeah, and also hiring Uncle Bogg.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You would need to be like missing portions of your brain to like play Angler and not play Uncle Bogg. He's just still crazy good. So good on Wyrd. They nerfed a model in a way that its keyword is still going to take it 100% of the time. And
which I think is a healthy change, honestly.
Out of keyword, I'm probably still going to hire it a bunch of the time because he's still really good. But I think that's just more of a function of Off the Path being an action that is way too good to exist on a non-master.
Hey, at least it doesn't have, slightly worse intuition on it anymore. I'm pretty happy with that. I'm gonna do the hot take. Choose a Path is better than a Weary Road.
Wow.
Especially on this guy. If your argument is he stays in your backline more, then you're not getting much from the aggressive scheme marker. So like your need to not black it's not as huge, whereas the need to pick up an enemy scheme marker with it is much bigger.
I will say what this guy did a lot for me is he scored schemes like Espionage by pushing himself onto the center line and dropping a scheme marker, which is like marginally harder to guarantee now. But it's fine. He's still good.
I think these are all very reasonable takes, and I agree with what you guys are saying. I think the big thing for me is like this guy was basically taken as an A.K.A. all-star all the time. And if you look at the context of the errata, they kind of took away Bogg as in A.K.A. all-star, gave us a really solid situational versatile that, while expensive, is good in a lot of cases. Also just gives Zoraida a big up. And I like that. They kind of like toned something down, but at the same time pushed something up and made it so that they're like similar type choices for the Bayou faction players. And I think that that's a really healthy style to make a change. Or we're going to take something away, but we're also going to give the Bayou faction players something that is like in the conversation of the same type of model that you can take, and it's around the same type of soulstone cost. Doesn't do exactly the same thing, but we're giving something and we're taking something away. I like to see that as a balancing process from devs. So wanted to call that out.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's move right along to the next faction, covering the first of the Explorer Society changes. We have the Botanist. This guy has been a thorn in my side for a long time.
Lame.
Lame. All right. So they've gone down a point in cost. So they've been reduced to 5 points. They have gained a movement. So their base movement 5. And they have lost a health. So they're down to 6 from 7. Feed Me has changed completely. It used to let you get grow tokens and then increase your stats. Now, at the start of this it used to get grow tokens once per activation when markers were removed near them. Now, it gives you 1 grow token at the start of its activation. And they still heal 1. But it got Strong Roots, which is a second separate ability that lets you get +1 stats while you have 1 or more grow tokens. So they've kind of taken away the grow tokens as a mechanic that lets you just increase all of your stats, and instead just gives you a flat +1, hence the movement buff. They still have Planted Roots, they still have Wicked, so those are very good. Trapping Jaws hasn't changed at all. Flesh-Eating Spores hasn't changed at all, and except that you discarding grow tokens isn't possibly as damaging now, because if you have at least 1, you still get all of the benefit. And they've kept Onward as well, which is really important, and they've given them a new bonus action called Cuttings, which lets you discard 3 or more grow tokens to summon another botanist within range with slow, and then heal equal to the number of grow tokens discarded. And with health equal to the number of grow tokens discarded. So they sort of replicate, which is super flavorful and neat, but it lost Grim Feast, so it can't eat corpse markers to then get a grow token and then heal. So pretty big overall change, although it doesn't really look like it is. Haku, what do you think?
I think these models are dead, but they're also funny at the same time.
They are funny. Sure. Can confirm. They've always been funny.
Summoning is good. It's good depending a bit more on what gaining grounds we're currently in. So just a model that on turn 3 duplicates itself for not much cost depending on what crew you're in.
Yeah, it's possible that it's earlier. Tasty Snack is a trigger on their melee that does allow them to possibly get a grow token. But
yes. I don't know how consistent that'll be with a stat 4.
Oh, certainly not.
I don't think you want to run into an enemy, but
it's a stat 5, realistically.
True. Okay, fine, fair. Realistically, with your stat 5, I still don't think it's that common. And then if you do it on turn 2, you then don't have the grow token anymore. I don't know. I mean, it could be very good. The best part is it's a move 6 model with Onward that's cost 6 wounds. I mean, that's still like a really good stat line.
Yeah.
So I think the stat line itself might just keep it up, and then the fact that it dupes itself eventually could just be good enough.
Yeah, while it's running around.
I mean, he can always just drop the scheme marker for himself now too. So you don't even like. You just onward walk, interact, turn 2, you'll pick up your scheme marker, and then you can just do that for the rest as you walk into like a far corner of the map, and then you can just start dropping scheme markers all over that side if they don't have someone to send and kill you.
Wild.
So it could be good.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I was always a little bit cooler on these guys than most people were. I mean, I get why people like them, but they're just like, I thought that a lot of the people kind of overstated how good they were. That said, I think that, they're much more interesting at 5 stones than they ever were at 6. Like 5 stones, you can hire 2 of these guys for 10 stones, which is not very much, and pretty easily feed each of them a token, and then you have 2 movement 6 onward dudes that are like moderately annoying to get rid of.
Yeah. Doug, what do you think? How are you feeling post?
I would like the collective McCabe 2 society out of ES to pour one out. We are in grieving, so like, please be gentle with us, the internet.
Yeah.
This was like our absolute baby. Holy fuck, is this disappointing for me? Because literally I picked up ES at time of recording 10 days ago for my competitive span at trying to take a swing at really bringing them to Doug Bowman's Houston, Texas tournament. My package was going to be Maxine 1, McCabe 2, and LOL, maybe Nexus 1, but never played Nexus 1, probably on clock. So my list had 2 botanists in it, and my list every time had 2 botanists, get them 2 grow tokens, send them out, score points with them. I'm going to disagree with my mentor here, Mr. Barrows, and say that I loved these models. They consistently scored points for me. They were amazing as a move 6 with 3 AP. Out of McCabe with all of the fasting them and throwing the objects around. Hell, sometimes they would hold the life leech upgrade for me. And fundamentally has required me to rework McCabe 2 ES from the ground up. I'm now looking at more like Rough Rider lists with him and stuff, trying to make it work. So I'll report back on that. I think the change overall was really healthy because, in my opinion, when a model is really good at a very specific thing and it's clearly being exploited in a certain list, it's probably time to look at it. I think Sam's point about making it from a 6 stone to a 5 stone, they kind of just have they already have their move 5, so you don't only go up 1 tick, they're still move 6 at that point, as if they had the 2 grow tokens. I'm going to try these guys out. My gut is that when they're good, they'll be good hires for things like go to a place, score, hold up your forces for me, and also vote or something like that. I don't know. But I mean, I'm definitely in a little bit of grieving for my old McCabe 2 list. So that's my thought.
You got whacked with the FAQ as well. Oof.
Yeah, I know. I still think McCabe 2 is so good. I still think McCabe 2 is one of the craziest masters in the game. I'm just gonna have to go back and rework how I'm going to approach him a little bit. But the power is still there. I really believe so. They just kind of took our overtly most powerful thing away from us, which is annoying, but I understand why they did it.
Yeah.
It was kind of stupid, to be honest.
Just to rein it in a little bit, when Doug says he picked up Explorers, it's from his shelf of all of his models because they were all built and painted and assembled and he owned them all already. but also to unrein it in a bit. On Wednesday, I did get a text from Doug that's like, McCabe is dead. We're quitting Malifaux. So, fair enough.
I'm actually going to change my mind. I completely changed my opinion because I actually just forgot. While I was talking about it, the fact that you can't just drop your scheme marker now to get your own grow tokens, it means that he's independent to every single crew in getting grow tokens. So any crew that has like 5 soulstones left over can just hire a guy that dupes himself on turn 3. Never mind. I'm back. I'm back. That's annoying as hell with a guy with wicked planted roots. He could just dirtle in turn 2, and then turn 3 just go charge someone and then summon a second botanist next to them. That's annoying as hell.
Yeah. I'm actually going to try my McCabe 2 list with a botanist still, but I'm not going to do 2. I'm probably just going to do 1.
You definitely just hire 1, and then you dupe yourself on turn 3 next to a guy already, and you just be annoying.
And I get 1 soulstone back in the list, and the other one turns into a huckster, probably.
Amazing,
honestly.
And if you dupe yourself on an enemy scheme marker, you can just immediately go in that guy, and he eats an enemy scheme marker for the crow token.
Agreed.
I've changed my mind. I'm all in. I'm
down. All right. Well, this has been an amazing roller coaster.
Well, because he doesn't work like he used to. I think that's especially when Doug was talking, like that's what really brought me up. I was still thinking about him as he used to be, but now it's like, how do I apply this guy to a new crew? And I think that's exactly the line of thought I want for that. So it's 5 stones doing that with a 3 AP model that dupes himself with very little risk and no other needed support besides one other guy on turn 1 dropping a scheme marker for you.
Yeah.
That's actually way too easy.
Especially out of Wastrel, where a lot of the times on my unpack, I have fast everywhere, right? Because of the trinket chain. So, like, you can definitely spare a single AP somewhere to get that going, for sure.
Wow. Well, this has been eye-opening. But I'm glad that you guys are so hopeful about the prospects of hiring botanists. Now, let's look at hopeful prospects. So one of the changes that I'll call out as we go, but over the next 3 cards are all the Explorer Society starter box. They finally gave them a keyword because every other starter box has a keyword, and they didn't for the longest time. So now they've introduced the new Society keyword, which doesn't really functionally have anything to do with the game, but it's neat. So hopeful prospects gained the Society keyword. They got a sort of a bit of a shift of welcome to society. Not even a shift, it's just completely different. So they now have a new ability that before performing a duel, they can discard a card to receive a plus flip. And they've lost 2 abilities. One, the ability where if they killed something, they would replace with a minion that shares a keyword with the master of the crew. But that basically never happened. And if it was like if you were ahead, it was you were getting more ahead. So like, the chances of this really being super impactful were low.
I replaced a dude into a robot twice.
All right, well, calm down. And they also very significantly lost insignificant, which is pretty wild. On the backside of their card, their knife attack became rifle slam, which is just the same attack but 1 inch instead of 0 inch, which is like fine. Their melee attack gained a stat, or their ranged attack rather gained a stat, so from 4 to 5. Other than that, still a 1/3/5 with crit strike. Safety precautions is unchanged, and they gained creep along, which is pretty rad. Haku, what do you think? 4 points, hopeful prospect.
I mean, you're still probably not hiring this model,
wow.
Especially after the high I'm flying on after talking about botanists, but definitely much better. Again, as the current trend, let's make sure all models are 3 AP models, so now he has a good option if you're not any conditions with creep along. That being said, I mean,
3 AP significant model, because before unsignificant, which is a big deal.
Yeah, pretty much useless.
Yeah, I mean, it's still 4 AP for a significant model, or 4 soulstones.
Yeah, model. You'd be hard pressed not to convince me to not pay the 1 extra soulstone for botanist.
I mean, they're condition removal. Botanists don't remove conditions; these guys do.
That's true. There you go. You found the
that's
one
their tech.
condition. That's always been what they were for.
Yeah.
But I mean, replacing into something is a meme.
We're seeing more condition removal options, so they've just
not in ES.
To the wayside. Yeah, well, that's true.
And this is something in ES that everyone can take, and is fairly easy to work into specific matchups by the nature of the fact that the model is a 4 soulstone cost. So it's kind of like, all right, fuck, like I'm playing like a Karis matchup. God damn it! Like I need burning removal. It's like, okay, well, this 4 Soulstone guy fits in there pretty easy, and it's not like having to take like I don't know, like an 8 or a 9 Soulstone model that fixes that problem. And you can also dovetail it, take 2 of them, and for 8 Soulstones, all of a sudden you have 3 AP on each model, so that's 6 net AP. Significant voting on like stuff that validates versus Karis, something like that.
I heard that as dovetail.
See, I would worry about bringing. This is the same problem we had before against the burning crews. It was really easy, just like attack him, give him burning, and then he dies to 1 attack.
Yeah, I think you have to keep him in the back
That's always
a bit.
the problem. But now that we're seeing stunned everywhere, God, good lord, there's definitely going to be the crews where it's like, I don't want to deal with all my models being stunned permanently.
Yeah, or a key model being stunned, and like at least then I can have some play back into it. I think he's good.
Wow.
I do kind of agree that most of the time, I think he's sideboard tech. Like when that condition removal matters, this model matters. Otherwise, I kind of agree. I'd rather pay another point for a botanist that makes more botanists.
Sure. Yeah. Moving along to the rest of the box, which has also changed, we can see that Society Honors is the keyword, the Society keyword, like sort of ability. They have taken the henchman of the starter box, Mr. Ngaatoro. He's also has the Society keyword. He also has the Society Honors ability. He also gained a health with no other changes. We did it. Haku?
Yeah. He's better now.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
He's
I don't know.
better.
I don't.
Yeah,
like,
he gets free plus flips sometimes.
Better, but you know, I guess it's cool. Like, he was kind of falling out of favor, I guess. Ever since like Madness, he was taken pretty decently before then, especially in like Nexus. I think you'll see him similarly, but. Because neurotoxins is just an obscenely cracked thing.
Yeah, buddy.
Having an extra health and discard cards for plus flips is huge for obeys when you have to draw through concealing. Like you don't have to focus for that anymore. You just have to pitch a card. That's dope.
Yeah. Sam, what do you think?
I mean, I don't think any list that wasn't already planning to take him is going to take him, and I think every list that was already planning to take him is still going to take him, and he's just going to be better.
Agreed.
Yeah,
hard agree.
Like that's like he's gonna see the exact same amount of play as before, and he's gonna be like 10% better in those games where he shows up.
Agreed. Hard agree.
Well,
I don't know. I think maybe he will be taken more in a crew that wouldn't have taken him before. Society Honors is such a good ability.
Dude, 9 Soulstones in this economy, dude. In this economy,
I mean, like
9 Soulstones for a guy who neurotoxins you and injures you, guaranteed with a crow.
Well, here's the thing: he's the only model with neurotoxins that cannot guarantee inflict poison on Soulstone users, who you really want neurotoxins against.
Yes, you can. You're melee.
No, because he has to damage you.
Not if you have the crow trigger.
The necrotic machine pretty doesn't do that, but okay.
You don't need a damage with the crow trigger.
I need to. Okay, so that is something, I guess. Yeah. That is something. He is kind of a lot of stones, but, you know, Voice of the Society is kind of an interesting rule. There's nothing else in the game that does that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I side with Sam, but I'm willing to be proven wrong, basically.
It's hard to rearrange an ES list to find 9 stones.
Yeah. I kind of agree with that.
For sure. Well, let's see if you can do it for 8, because boy, oh boy. So Tannenbaum is also from that box set, and this
Tannenbaum.
If you look at the document that I made, it's like just yellow, just squares, highlighter squares everywhere. So he's the same points cost. He has lost the Seeker keyword, so he's a Society guy now. Everyone knows it. He kept Ink Fingers and Unimpeded. That's it. He lost Chatty Chronicle because he's not a Seeker model anymore, and Manipulative. He gained the Society Honors keyword we've talked about a few times before. He also gained Hard to Kill, which is pretty rad. And he gained another ability, Well Provisioned. So when this model activates, if a friendly master or henchman is within Aura 6, draw a card. If it's Mr. Ngaatoro, then you draw a card from this model's discard pile with a value of 5 or less. We've seen similar bits that do that in a bunch of the starter boxes, and maybe a couple other places, so that's not super out of the blue. But pretty good. Health and stats all stay the same. On the backside, we see that his melee attack comprehensive notes has been reworked into his bonus action comprehensive notes has been reworked into a melee attack. So it now does 2, 3, 4 damage, and you can look at the target's fate, the top card of the target's fate deck, and it's 1 inch instead of 6 because it's a melee. And his ancient words went up a stat and gained the field kit trigger, which after resolving lets a friendly model with an aura 3 heal 1, 2, 3 instead of surge. So he completely lost that. He's kept haphazard topography, that hasn't changed at all. He's also kept study, which hasn't changed at all. And he gained onward, which is very good, but he completely lost rewrite the story, which was his ability that let you change one of your schemes mid-game. And I don't know necessarily speaking that that's like ever useful or good, or was ever useful or good, unless you had messed up. And I don't know that that was ever programmed into the app. So I don't know if this was more of a mechanical thing or an app thing, but Haku, what do you think? Tannenbaum.
So it used to be, Rework the Story used to be a 12 cost at one point. That might have been the beta. I'm not sure. It might have been released. I don't remember. Either way, it was actually broken at 12 costs because with a 12, you could realistically get it off. With a 13, it became like pure gambling if you ever saw it. And so the easier it was to get, it could be, actually pretty ridiculously good. And that was like always the problem. It was like a huge swingy. Like it's bad when it's bad, but it's insane when it's good in that one scenario. But you would just never hire him because you couldn't get it off reliably. So it just made him unhireable. So losing it doesn't really matter because since you needed a 13, you just didn't hire him because of that.
Comprehensive notes was really good. It was really good anti-dreamer tech. Like truly aggressive anti-dreamer tech. Because it removes up to 4 non-jokers in their discard pile from the game. So Dreamer 2 is trying to like carefully balance and sculpt a really good out of game hand, and you're like, oh, nice hand of you got a couple 13s in there. Here's 4 weeks. Now you flip.
Yeah, but overall, I mean, I think we all.
It was not a real action.
Let's be real with one another, right? We all play ES at the 3 of us have played a bunch of ES at competitive levels.
Don't let me in with you guys.
You're not. You're a fucking Arcanist player. You have way cooler toys than we have, man.
I haven't played Arcanist since 2023, but okay.
Anyway, my point is that I think overall, net, Tannenbaum has become a consistently interesting option to me. The more I read this card, the more excited I am to play it, the more versatile it seems to me. And like, I'm genuinely hyped that he got a stat 6 Ancient Words with some decent triggers. I mean, they're not out of this world triggers, but situationally in the right builds, I see that really good, especially Drawn to the Unknown on Ancient Words is spicy. I like that. I also think we were talking a lot about like how haphazard topography is a tactical action that is very skill expressive, and if you're a high level player and you're able to kind of see the matrix of the Malifaux match, this can be a make or break tactical action in my mind, especially with a Draw Out Secrets trigger on it. I don't know. I think this guy finds his way into a lot of different lists. Also, shout out to the Spirit of Pope DARPA. This was a particular model that he was very excited about testing and playing with, and thought was very powerful.
I mean, start the game by drawing, or start your activation by drawing 2 cards is a really good ability.
Yeah.
I truly think Ngaatoro can fit in every list. It's just whether or not he's optional for that list. I mean, that's the reason like Ngaatoro is good, because he has obeys, and obeys fit in every list, although I am a hater of obeys. But
he's good because he has this ability that sucks.
I know.
All right, gentlemen. Back to your respective corners of the boxing ring so that we can get this done in a timely manner.
Yeah, guys.
I respect Sam's position. I respect Haku's position. The Ngaatoro Drakdown fight will be televised. It will be a pay-per-view, and we will make money off this. We're definitely monetizing this. Yeah, gentlemen, you have 2 months to prepare for the boxing.
We'll make sure to take comprehensive notes.
We'll make sure to take comprehensive notes, and no one will end up with ink fingers at all.
All right,
I think this guy very good. I think that Tannenbaum lost a bunch of stuff that was cute and not very good, and he gained some stuff that is kind of boring but good. So maybe that puts him over the top. I think that I'd like to think of him as like a package with Ngaatoro, because I really don't want to hire him without that extra card. I think that's what puts him over the top.
I could see, but what about, so like here's a use case that immediately stood out to me. I get a stat 6 ancient words, and if I have to play Nekama, that's a decent action against
Your
Nekama
explorers, you have a lot of better willpower attack options, I think.
Yeah, that's correct.
That's probably true.
I mean, look, he's not probably terrible, but he's 8 stones. 8 stones is a lot. So
in this economy.
But like, if he's drawing those 2 cards, that's actually just really good. Like,
even
there
the
are
one card's fine with haphazard typography when you need the scheme markers. Like, that's probably fine.
All right, now we're on to the. Well, actually, sorry, Brandon. I didn't mean to steal your thunder. Go ahead, buddy.
No, it's all good. No, we're not on Thunders yet. We're gonna cover all of the Lucius stuff at the end, all in one bundle. So for now, we're only going to talk about the non-Lucius guild model that was errated, which of course is Sonya Creed. Also, I saw a post earlier about how people might pronounce it Sonya Creed, and that's just insane. There's no way. There's 2 eyes. English doesn't function like that. Hard pass. And I'll die on this hill. So, Sonya Creed, the one with 2 eyes, has changed also quite a bit. We'll start with the front of her card. It's pretty significant. She has gained 2 defense and a tome built in. She has lost 2 willpower. She has also gained a move, which is really, I think, crucial. She kept Arcane Shield 2. She kept her defensive and willpower trigger Ignite, although it is now built in automatically on defense, which is really good. And that is the end of the things that are the same. Except for, and health, sorry. So she lost Counterspell, Seeking Flames, and Smothering Flames, which was her sort of unique ability where you would reduce non-melee action ranges. So that's completely gone now. She gained Pyrotechnics, which is, I believe, like a Wong ability, if I'm not mistaken. That's like pretty Wong too, yeah. So when she would place a blast marker, she can place it anywhere within 2 inches of the target or another blast marker, so they don't have to be touching, which is pretty rad. And she also just flat out gained Arcane Reservoir, on a master. The entire back of the card is completely different, so I'm just going to go over the new stuff. You can check out the old stuff. It's on the screen now. But her new melee attack, Witchbane, is a 2/3 blast, 5 blast that lets a friendly model within 4 inches of the target heal 1. It's a 2-inch melee with a stat 6 with the trigger built in, where if you kill an enemy model, you can summon a Witchling Stalker with slow into base contact with the target for free, which is bonkers. Is really good. Sapping Flames is her new ranged attack, which is a 12-inch stat 6 willpower duel. It does 1 blast, 1 blast, 3 blast, which is a super, super weird damage track. But models damaged by this action gain Burning 3, and it ignores Shielded and Incorporeal, which means unless you're Soul Stoning, you're pretty much always taking the damage, which means you're pretty much always gaining 3 Burning, which is quite a bit. And it has the Drain Magic and Draw Out Secrets trigger. She also gained a bunch of brand new tactical actions. So Magical Inquisition is a 12-inch stat 0. Once per turn, enemy only. End the burning condition, name a Witch Hunter minion. The TN is the cost +4 and a tome. And it summon the named model with slow within aura 3 of this model. So she is just a flat-out summoner now. You don't have to deal with any awful end burning kill models nonsense. You just get to name a model and summon it with the appropriate amount of cards. She also gained Arcane Infusion, which is a 12-inch attack that is 12-inch tactical action that needs a suitless 4, friendly Witch Hunter only. That model gains fast, and it has Visions of Flame, so you end the burning condition on them and draw 2 cards. And Smoldering Soul. So enemy models within aura 1 of the target are in Hazardous Burning 2. And her new bonus action, Advanced Order, is a Pulse 4 on a Suitless 4. You push this model and 2 other friendly Witch Hunter models within range up to 4 inches in any direction. Wild.
We did it!
There are so many things. This is how I think this is how Lucius is going to go the whole time. But
I am so glad they removed the gun from her attack. That's been there since M2E. I've never understood it. Hell, it might have been there since M1. I don't think she was in M1. Anyways, so glad she removed that. I love this model. The tome on the defense trigger is doubly as good because Spell Eaters now can transmutate built in because they'll steal it from her.
A model really in her keyword. Yeah.
That she summons now.
That she can summon now.
Oh my god, I'm just going to talk about that for a second because this is something
Summoned
that's
spell
always
eaters.
annoyed me.
Let's
No,
fucking go, baby.
I mean, I love that, but the thing that's always annoyed me about every summon master they've printed, they give it a stat, and I've never understood why, because there's pretty much no way to interact with that at all. And
they stopped doing it with the summer rework.
Exactly. It's so annoying to do the math, and it's annoying for your opponent to have to do the math when you can just be like, oh, the cost of the guy plus 4. Okay, that's a really easy thing. Not cost of the guy plus 4 minus your stat. I mean, it's very simple math, but as anyone who's played this game knows, it's doing one addition's hard. Now doing addition and subtraction, ugh.
Yeah, Omar from our Discord called that out as well when he saw that change, and I 100% agree. This is a quality of life adjustment on a static stat duel that just makes using the ability easier. And Sam is 100% right. They did this on summer. It just makes it easier to play the game, and there's no reason to have to do a fucking mini math problem before you activate the ability. I 100% agree.
Arcane Reservoir is dope. Pyrotechnics is dope. Not being a move 4 master is dope. Move 4 masters kind of just really feel bad to play. The only one I can think of that I don't mind it too much on is Nexus, but even then it's still annoying. Yeah, other than that, I don't know. Everything's insane. Summoning Spell Eaters, oh my god.
Where are you at from a temperature perspective on this model, Haku? Are you thinking it's like... And I asked this because of all of my friends and all of my the people that have taught me this game, I consider you and Sam and Landon like mentors to me because you guys taught me how to play competitive. Are you thinking this is a B tier model, usable, you're gonna try it out? Are you thinking this is maybe a new kind of A tier powerful model that when you declare guild into a tournament that it has fundamentally changed how you would approach your bench composition? Are you thinking this is now S tier new crazy hotness? Because I've heard also people even saying that model C tier, let's see, meh maybe. Where do you land on that? Out the door as your final kind of ranking. I'm so curious because I know that you value summons very highly. So
yeah, if I had to pick right off the bat, I would say high A, low S probably.
Why?
Wow.
The most reason I'd say that is if anyone's played any games where you have choices, the big thing is Hearthstone, the reason Druids were really good is they would have cards where you could be do one thing or do the other, and it didn't have you're getting a slightly lower value on each thing, but it made it really good because you could pick whichever situation you needed. This is a very similar thing. We kind of have that with titles already, but you can have this now in an individual master. I think you're really good at either staying back, playing the blast game, going all in, playing the sword game because your sword's really good. It's really important that her attack doesn't target to get the heal. So if you actually kill something, you still heal, which thank Christ. Having the +1 Arcane Reservoir to your hand size is obviously insane. You're getting a lot of cards and fasting with Arcane Infusion, but you can switch that. Instead of getting cards, you can start trying to do hazardous burning things to just be super obnoxious with. The movement's insane. I mean, these TMs are 4s. They're super low, especially with a 7-card hand. So you're able to push your guys out, especially with people who can have Leadline Coat. You know how good
Hot Rod
free movement can be. Yeah,
Hot Rod,
you just get a movement forward. Yourself is just huge that you can just move yourself forward. You're a threat range of essentially triple sapping flame somebody from 16 inches away, and you can 9 burning is kind of insane on potentially many targets at once. So if you and almost in a funny way, it's better you're doing 1 damage because you're not killing the guy you're attacking. So you can find that one totem that's willpower 4, and you're just all right, time to just go give your whole crew burning 9.
Yeah.
And so 100%. It's you're either soul stoning 1 damage on multiple models, or you're just racking up the burning and then wasting turns assisting or something.
Also,
all while potentially draining magic on the guy.
Also, shout out to really strong synergy with the new hotness of Hot Rod. Additionally, where you just Arcane Infusion Hot Rod and draw 2 cards off of it, or if you get an early activation to flush some minor burning off of the Totem Pulse or something, you just get 2 cards, fast Hot Rod, move Hot Rod with your fast action. Additionally, additionally something else. fucking sapping flame something from a long way away and then get a summon, and like that's a great fucking turn 1 in my opinion.
Or just sapping
for
flame
those who
Rodriguez
don't know,
and 3
Hot Rod is Director Rodriguez, and you'll know why we call him Hot Rod if you look at his character.
Yeah. One question, I guess the final question that I had for you, Haku, because this is the immediate thing that came up in some of the discussions I was having when this card got revealed. The immediate comp for this within faction is Dashel 1. Dashel 1 is the existing, I'm a summoner, that's what I do, I summon. What is your thoughts on who you like better generally as a crew, Sonya 1 as a summon crew, or Dashel 1 as a summon crew, coming out of guild, and why?
I'm going to hot take. I just prefer Sonya. Some people were memeing that her model summons aren't as good. I don't know where that comes from, because you get Spell Eaters. Witchling Thralls are
and
insane
Hexpos.
Just to have. Hexpos are, don't get me wrong, they're really great hires. I don't know if they'd be like my first option when I'm summoning.
I'm probably getting. I think I'm trying to go after a Thrall or a Spell Eater. That's what I'm trying to do.
And then like you even have like decent options going down with tech options, like picking up a Witchling Thrall or not Witchling Handler if you need like some.
You have a toolbox summon mechanic, and because I totally agree. You have a really deep, interesting toolbox. And you know who made this point also? Jim Dyson made this point in one of the Discords, which is like the fact that these models become summons totally changes the lens at which you evaluate them on, right? Like a hired Witchling Thrall, maybe in some matchups. A summoned Witchling Thrall, when it's tech relevant, on time, in game, without additional soulstone expenditure, well, now that's a different conversation. And the biggest mirror of this for me is when I started playing Summerteeth Jones 1. I don't really play Summer 2. I don't have a lot of experience with him, but oh boy, do I have 37 games with Summerteeth 1. And good old boys. Really, really shitty hires most of the time, overcosted, amazing summons. And I feel like we're about to get some of that vibe from like a summoned Thrall, a summoned Spell Eater, a summoned like...
the biggest one to me, because the one thing that they nerfed about summons was you can't interact the turn they're summoned, mainly to deny you from dropping a scheme marker. Well, you know who you can just summon who will have an action and can drop a scheme marker? The Queller. You can just bring him up, which also, if you're in melee form beating a guy, you just summoned a guy that canceled Soul Stones if you don't pitch cards from your hand. So now Flameburst can drain magic and require them to pitch a card if they want to use their Soul Stone. He also just can end Burning Condition on target. No TN, he just does it. Has to be enemy, but then they just get a scheme marker, and you're giving Burning to everyone in this crew, so it's pretty much just like a free scheme marker on around any enemy model. Like it's just so many options. The toolbox is huge.
So I don't know if they've done an errata previously in this edition that made a model a summoner that wasn't one before, or at least expanded a summon, like a range of what could be summoned above what could be summoned before. So that's what's really interesting to me about New Sonya, is that there's a bunch of models that were not designed to be summons. Like Good Old Boys are good summons, but when they designed the Good Old Boy card, they knew they were going to be summonable. They designed them with that basis.
She could already summon anything that was a witchling, but all the other stuff, obviously.
Yeah, but that's not the stuff that's interesting to me. The stuff that's interesting to me is like Quellers and Spell Eaters and Hexpos. I do think the flavor of it is kind of funny. Like, she pulls the fire off of you and turns it into a dude with a bow. Like, okay.
Yeah, I don't remember ever successfully getting a Witchling Thrall of her summon.
Yeah. So I think this is cool. Yeah. I think that also Tiri is considered really good because she has an action that can, draw you 2 cards and make one of your models fast. And Sonya does that too, except she doesn't have to discard 2 cards to do it. So...
Also, your super easy focus, severe 5 blasting guy who, I don't even know if the target you kill with your trigger has to be the one you're attacking or one you blast on, because it's just after killing. So I'm pretty sure, like, if you blast kill a guy, you can still summon a Witchling Stalker. But I guess it's kind of weird because you summon him base with the target, so I'm not sure. That's going to be a rules question eventually, I'm pretty sure, but
I mean, I think if you blast and kill 3 models, you get all 3 Witchling Stalkers,
just into all 3 of them. Just
why
go
not?
around the base of the dead body
I
you
think
targeted.
we should be able to start the game with 3 free Witchling Stalkers.
All right.
Yeah, because it really seems like after killing was meant to be like timing, right? But it's also the condition at the same
Jeff
time.
from Defective Dice is sitting and listening to this part of the episode and is fucking pissed off. He hates Sonya and he loves Tony, and he's like, fuck Sonya 1 getting a rework. This model sucks.
Dude,
and I was
I'm so pumped to play Guild now, just to play.
Me too, dude.
Sonya
Me too.
1. I still think Sonya 2 is a good option too. Like, so I think.
Oh, yeah, look. So the backdrop of this,
insane when you declare Sonya out loud. It's just that your toolbox is just so broad.
100% that, dude. Like everything we just said about Sonya 1, plus on the back end, you have an alternative, awesome title in Sonya 2, with a lot of good tech out of her too. So like you could just like solo Sonya and have both sides be relevant, and just like put in a ton of reps on that, and like that's what you could do.
Oh, their front line's really weak to guns. All right, Sonya 2 it is, I guess.
Yeah,
I've always thought it was very weird that both Sonyas had Flame Burst, because it's this like, it's a range 14 powerful attack with a bunch of blasts. It's kind of a unique master defining rule, and having 2 masters that are like different versions of the same gun turret was always kind of strange.
Yeah,
well, and one was just objectively better because they could get plus flaps.
I think that pretty much talks about Sonya, right? I don't know if there are any closing thoughts. Are we good to move on? I think we've said a lot about Sonya. All right. So Sonya, obviously very rad. Let's talk purple model again, the non-Lucius one. There's only one this Errata pass, and it's KillJoy, which is a surprise to me. So KillJoy is a model theoretically. You may have seen it before, but you probably haven't. Hopefully this will change that. He's still a 10 cost dude. He has 10 health. He has lost his old Demise Immortal soil, which used to just say whenever he's killed, he heals 4 and is buried. And he had these upgrades that were basically the impetus on him coming back. Those upgrades no longer exist. They are gone from the game. And his new Demise ability, Unending Strife, is once per game. So after this model is killed, it's healed 4 and placed into base contact with an enemy non-leader model within Aura 6, which does mean that if you don't have one, he'll just stay where he is and heal 4. But that's probably pretty unlikely considering he just died. Yeah. Terrifying 11, he kept. He still has Eat Your Fill, and he lost Hard to Wound, Barbed in Brambles, and Blood Price. Blood Price being the ability that gave him those upgrades that don't exist anymore. And he's gained Unimpeded, which is important because Barbed in Brambles used to let him be unaffected by Underbrush Marker. He's now unimpeded instead, and he is Made to Kill. So when he places, such as when his Demise trigger ends, he gets a free melee attack. His Massive Cleaver has changed a bit. It now gets plus flips if the target is within Aura 1 of a Underbrush Marker. Aside from that, it's still a 3. Its damage track has changed. It is now a 3-3-6 instead of a 3-4-6. And it still has Drink Blood, but it's gained Knock Aside instead of Onslaught. His old hook chain action is changed to be not a gun, which is wild, and also is called Rosewood Chains now. It's still stat 5 against defense. The target, it ignores concealment now because it needs to, because he doesn't just completely become unaffected by Underbrush Markers. So it does 2, 3, 4 damage, pushes the target 3 inches towards KillJoy, or an Underbrush Marker in its line of sight, which is really good. And it no longer has Pull and Drag. Instead, it has On Your Heels and Daze, which is a heck of a trigger. He no longer also has Juggernaut. Instead, he has a new bonus action called Bloody Gate, which targets an Underbrush Marker, places into base contact with it, and his old sort of Barbed and Brambled is reworked a little bit in a trigger on this, which gives enemy models have to treat the area within 1 of him as hazardous until the end phase. So really, really different, but it's super, super neat the way that they sort of took what the old upgrades did and worked it into a trigger. And again, when you're placing, so you'll trigger Made to Kill. Haku, what do you think? KillJoy, you gonna hire him?
Yeah, you know what? I'm going to commit to it. I like this model.
I want to give him a try. Plus, he has like 4 really cool sculpts.
I don't think once per game.
Well, hold on. We know that the best sculpt is the alternative one where he's a big like tree knight. Obviously, that's the best.
The metal model Silent Knight. I mean, it's fine. I like the translucent one because I put glitter on it.
Well, you can put glitter on the Silent Knight.
I also put glitter on that one.
Brandon, there's a property about glitter. I don't know if you're aware, but you can put it on kind of whatever you want. It's like for you, it's kind of like the Frank's Red Hot sauce, right?
There's not inside of it. It needs glitter in it.
There was a treatise. I had to sign an agreement. Something Geneva. It's a problem. Look.
Did you just use the word treatise?
Treatise, yeah. It's like
wild.
It's like a treaty, but
my favorite alt sculpt of KillJoy is the one with the giant pumpkin head and the cross on his back. Oh
wait, you mean Carver? Oh no.
Oh no. Man, I would have loved to see Carver get a glow up too. Man, I would have loved to see Carver get a glow up.
So, in case you were not aware, which I wasn't until Haku and Pope told me, KillJoy has been a model for a long time. He used to be an Outcast guy, but Carver was originally an alt sculpt of KillJoy that got rules somehow. It came to life. So Carver was never in the game because he was just an alt KillJoy, and then they made him as a thing.
No, made to kill is insane. He's now a 3 AP model that's not relying on the high mask. So unless you had like tools. I don't know, it was very unreliable for obvious reasons. And now you have, just a guaranteed 3 AP pretty much because you just need a 6 and the underbrush marker, which isn't too hard. And it's where you want to be anyways because then you get pluses to your duel, which is really nice because it's also not dictated by if you move through it or ended in it. You just get it by being within 1 now, which is much nicer, I think. And you don't have to keep track of that.
Also, his ability kit is just good. Like straight up, like I'm looking at all these abilities, right? Like his demise is great. He has unimpeded, which is great to see on a big model. He has made to kill, great. He has terrifying 11, great.
The big thing you didn't mark is he went from defense 4 to defense 5, which is huge.
Great, yeah. Because you're no longer auto losing. You're no longer auto losing defensive battles. Yeah. If anyone has a 13. They no longer can just decide to hit you.
Well, they still kind of can if they're stat 6, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm saying a stat 5 could even do that, right? So
I think it's easier to sort of chunk him down in a couple big hits because he is hard to wound, but the demise does make it like, it's a lot more risky to do it.
Well, he's not hard to wound anymore. He lost that.
That's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Yeah. He's not hard to wound. You can chunk him down. The thing that really is interesting to me about him is because Neverborn is not light on like big chunky dudes with severe 6 melee attacks that can like really just slap your shit around. So when I'm looking at him, like, why am I hiring KillJoy instead of something else like a mature? Rosewood Chains is a really cool action. Like the fact that it doesn't have a gun and ignores concealment, so like realistically,
you're never taking negs on it, really.
And it's also a 3-inch push towards it, like in a pretty flexible way with the nature of how underbrush markers go out, and it also has daze, so sometimes it's a 6-inch push and stuns them. It just is really strong, and Bloody Gate is a really good way of like getting angles on people. So and also Barbed and Bramble is just a great trigger. So I'm less excited about this guy as being like a big made to kill, beat stick who's gonna like run into someone's face and kill them, and more excited about like the fact that he can just like abduct somebody with Rosewood Chains. If you have a high crow in your hand, you can just like make someone's day horrible. I think that 10 stones is a lot though, like a lot.
Yeah.
So
it's expensive.
Think about that.
Yeah. But he does a lot.
Yeah, and I think the model is firmly playable. Is kind of where I ended on this guy.
Yeah, and I really like that as a glow up from. I basically never played him ever, even in Mania before.
Taking a model from never really taken to firmly playable is an excellent execution of what I believe buffs should be used for.
Yeah.
That's great. It went from kind of not really seen that much to wow, that guy's firmly usable. All right. On to the greatest change ever. Asura Rotten.
Wow. All right, so this lady is wildly different. Also, another card that's just like blocks of text. Okay, so Asura Rotten, it might be a model you're familiar with. It probably isn't because you've never seen it on the table, but I swear it exists. And if you own the normal version of the zombies that you got in like normal gray plastic, you have her. So she is a henchman, versatile resurrectionist model. She has gained the zombie keyword. She used to just be treated as having it when hiring, but now she has gained it completely. So she no longer obviously has the necromantic font ability that gives her that while hiring. She has lost Residents of Rottenburg, which would just flat out let mindless zombies in her line of sight ignore their insignificant ability during their activations, but we sort of reprise that into a trigger we'll cover in a second. She kept Hard to Kill. She kept Final Veil, which is really important. She lost Accomplice, which is kind of sad, but she did gain Siphon Power, which is nuts. No change to her any of her defense, willpower, stat, movement stuff. On the backside of her card, she used to have a melee trigger called Tear Apart. That's gone now. Instead, her Decay, which has basically remained the same, it just gained an additional trigger of Siphon Life. And she used to have the only tactical action Zombie Apocalypse, which just lets you summon a zombie, and her bonus action Reanimate. Those are both gone now. Instead, we have Return of the Dead, which is sort of like Zombie Apocalypse, except it, instead of having to be in base contact, it's now anywhere within 8 inches, which is pretty crazy, still on a 4 crows. Her new bonus, one of her new 2 bonus actions, Macabre Infusion, lets friendly mindless zombies within range move up to 3 inches and take an action, and it's a 6-inch pulse on a suitless 4. But if you get a crow, we have her old ability reprised as a trigger. So when resolving, mindless zombies may benefit from pack mentality, which means they get a +1 to their stats as long as there are other zombies nearby, mindless zombies nearby, and they get to ignore their insignificant ability for the action that they take from her bonus. She also has Study, which is a situationally very useful ability to target a scrap or corpse, drop a scheme, and then remove it. And it has a reposition trigger and a new trigger, Ritual of Empowerment, which lets friendly models with an aura 4 of the dropped marker get a plus flip to non-melee, non-gun actions. Haku, Asura Rotten, are you excited?
I'm so excited. I am beyond excited.
Oh my gosh. Zombie Tribal, it's coming back. It's almost like Nicodem. Okay.
Yeah. I think you left out Grave Daimyo, which is the hype part about making her the master. You can have 10
Grave Dynamo,
zombies.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me reprise. I also forgot the Grave Dynamo ability, where other friendly models within Aura 6 get a plus, zombie models get a plus flip to their actions. That's every model that has the zombie keyword, which just gets flat plus flip to their actions always.
Yeah.
But also, if she's the leader, friendly mindless zombies increase to model count limit, friendly minion limit to 10. So like, obviously, this was designed knowing Ezekiel was going to give you 5 new goblins and 5 new zombies, and I'm certain that some people threw them out and are going to be real mad. Please can.
Why would anybody throw them out? Like,
I don't know
doesn't
why
make any
people
sense.
No. Obviously,
filthy gremlin zombie models. That's
obviously nobody threw out the gremlin ones. They threw out their old ones because they're like, these are lame.
I still have, I think, like 20 because there were a lot of different versions of them, and you needed them in M3E because you could summon an infinite amount.
Yeah. I mean, you practically can now too, Haku.
So obviously, I'll go over a little bit why it's insane in McMorning.
Yeah.
Why it's insane in McMorning, because obviously he wants more corpse markers. This model just summons 2 corpse markers as zombies. Funnily enough, it also can do it while killing a model, because you can just siphon soul one of your zombies to death and then have more zombies. Kind of actually gets a little bit bonkers. What you're able to actually, did they change it so that you can't kill your model with siphon power? I think it was siphon life. You can't choose to kill yourself.
Yeah, you definitely can't.
Have to double check that. The siphon power, I'm pretty sure you're able to, because you're. I think you might not be able to suffer damage that kills you.
I don't believe that you're allowed to choose that, but it is a different model. But hold on, I'll check the FAQ. I'm pretty sure they call it out specifically.
Anyways, I'll ignore that and keep talking about different things. So she's obviously just kind of insane now, because the siphon power is pretty much you have free targets galore in that faction, because they're going to be healing from poison. They tend to just not heal because it doesn't have it. You'll have a bunch of zombies around you who you don't care if they're at 1 wound or not, because if they kill them, you draw cards or create more corpse markers. You can just do unlimited silly things as long as you're standing near McMorning. Hell, it's even good in McMorning 1 because it's the way that you can actually get enough corpse markers out now with her and Ezekiel to just not need any other part of any other corpse generating engine at all. You can just go Ezekiel zombie zombie, Asura Rotten hurts those zombies to get the crow to summon zombie, and then you do whatever the hell you want with the bonus action, but you'll then just turn them into, you know, a big zombie with McMorning. And so it's great in both. It does insane things because once you're done summoning zombies and you actually want to kill things, you're just a min 3 decay, which is just kind of bonkers. And yeah, Study is obviously really strong as well because you can just give plus flips to everybody if you have a corpse marker. I'm like, how do you get one of those? So if you want plus flips to all of your attempts to summon, which maybe you don't, just so you don't black it. But other than that, you're going nuts. And then, so that's the obvious synergies it has pretty much with every reser. There's no reses where it's going to be bad because you can just summon zombie and then charge it. Oh, you need a zombie for all of your upgrades to kill and gain focus? Well, she can be the one for that if you want, and then you'll just have a min 3 siphon life and everybody adores injured, or sorry, a min 3 decay because of siphon life. And then the funniest part obviously is going to be when you're playing this model as master. Part of that I think is just going to be if you're within what is it, like 14 inches of a guy, you can summon a zombie, edge it at that 6 inches, activate it, push them 3, and then each one can charge attack a guy and just create a wall of bodies blocking them. And you can kind of do that with 2 actions, obviously, but it's just funnier when you create 3 mindless zombies and you can fully block a whole entire, like, 3-inch lane, basically, that they have to kill. Kind of annoying models to kill. Like, mindless zombies, for some reason, just have hard to wound, and they're 3 wounds. So if you're not a min 3 beater, then you probably have to take 2 attacks to kill them. And even if you are a min 3 beater, you probably have to kill 2 of them to walk through the area if you space them well enough. And they just get to be annoying while doing it and dropping corpses. And you get to drop all these corpses on your other side of your field. So what do you do with that? You have a dead rider who's just hiding in your backline. And then on turn 2, if you have the crow and your 3 tokens on you, you just run in there and then bam, 10 zombies. So you can do some really insane things. I'm really excited for this card. If you guys haven't picked up on how excited I am.
Yeah, I've very scarcely have I seen Haku this giddy.
Yeah,
I used to do this in like a Nico list, but it was actually like hard to get the zombies up there, and you had maniacal laughter was the basically the dead rider ult where you just summon zombies, and so now you just get to you get to do that again. It's great. Wahahaha.
Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even want to interrupt. He's on such a roll. I mean,
yeah,
look,
it was like
cool.
I had like 1 or 2 points, and I was like, I'll just let him go. He's on a thing. He's doing a thing right now.
Yeah, sorry, so. I did a mini video breakdown of Asura Rotten.
Yeah, no, I mean that was awesome. I don't have anything to add really. I think you covered everything I was gonna say. So I agree. Mr. Barrows Fishman Esquire.
Yeah, I mean I don't have anything to add to that amazing rant.
Yeah, well, that was artful, Haku. You could tell you really love that model. The passion.
I mean, I really
shined through, and I'm happy that you're that happy, my friend.
I kind of undervalued like how insane Ritual of Empowerment is, just because Macabre Infusion's like the funny ability, but as a support piece, just you have plus flips to everything that isn't an attack action. Like what?
This is the most passionate. I've been friends with Haku for almost 3 years now, and he's a good friend of mine. And this is, I think, the most passionate I've ever seen him about anything.
Dude, I bought this model in M3E and it's pretty much been unplayable since then.
Cool, yeah, no notes. I guess now onto a more somber subject.
I will say, we'll get there. Just one last thing. Earlier, I think, and maybe I'll cut it all in this included, so it won't matter. But I did find after killing specifies target. which is just a thing. But I'm literally doing the yeah, I know.
Because it's really funny if it wasn't.
So the rule on suffering damage as well is that a model can never choose to suffer damage. Some models in Malifaux may generate effects that require them to suffer damage, such as the cost of an action or ability. A model can never choose to suffer damage this way if that damage would reduce their health to 0. Let's light a candle for our enkindled cult lady, Reva. So Reva, people say has gotten a nerf, and also people have for a long time said that she was way overpowered. I don't think that's true, but the change that they made are changes, so let's talk about them. So firstly, she has gained a defense. Nothing else of note. Moving on. No, so she's gained a point of defense. She's also gained a point of health, which is nice. She has lost completely the Funeral Pyre ability and the Enkindle the Cult ability, which let you, which used to be the way that she would, instead of suffering damage, kill a friendly model within 2, which would then trigger and chain a whole bunch of nonsense. She's kept Tear Back the Veil, which is really important. She's kept the Forgotten Dead, which is really important. She has sort of kept Visions and Fire, but it has lost the ability to cause enemy models to suffer damage, and therefore it is now friendly only. So friendly models within Aura 8 will heal 1 after gaining Burning, and you can't heal more than once per activation this way. She's also gained Fireproof, which now that she can't enkindle the cult is really important, so she takes 1 less damage from Burning. And she's gained a new ability, Guiding Light. So during the start phase, you get to just drop a Pyre marker within Aura 6, which is pretty strong and really good for her. And you get to push models within 2 inches of the dropped marker up to 2 inches. So what I had read, I guess, the errata as being is to stop interactions from stopping, from having to do a bunch of micro transactions during her activation and during the game. But Tear Back the Veil is kind of what did that, which lets you push models every time a Pyre marker's drop. So I don't know necessarily that addresses it. But if you flip over to the back of her new card, they've changed a lot there too. So Corrupting Flame has gained a ram built in and lost the Pyre Bloom trigger, which is her melee attack that does 1, 2, 3 and gives burning. It's gained the Smolder trigger, so you can reduce the target's burning by 1 to make them take an extra damage. It's worth noting that trigger that trigger happens after the attack, but reducing the value of the target's burning is the cost which you have to pay when you declare the trigger. So if they didn't already have burning, it won't do anything. Yeah, I'm not wrong on that?
Correct.
Yeah. Sorry, that one's a sort of a bit of a crazy one. Well, we will see the Pyre Bloom trigger again, though. So Immolate has stayed the same, except the Unending Flame trigger has changed quite a bit. So it used to be after killing summon a Lampad with health equal to the burning that you removed. Now it just comes in with 4 health, which is really good.
The ability actually works now.
Yeah. And now
it is a legal ability.
I look forward to seeing people summon Lampads with this ability, which I assume they weren't doing before because it wasn't legally possible.
Okay, I was getting to that.
Well,
calm down.
Technically, they would just die immediately, right?
Yeah, Unending Flame it technically works now. It's not worth going into why it didn't before, but it works, and I was going to make a big joke, and you both ruined it, so I won't now. Lantern's Light has gained the Pyre Bloom trigger that fell down a bit, a few spaces on her card, and Luminary's Chosen also has changed quite a bit, so it used to give a friendly model... any friendly model with shielded within Aura 4 of the target of who you Lantern's Light used to increase their damaged attacks by 1, and now it only doesn't require the shielded. But it is keyword restricted. So until the end phase, the attack actions of other friendly Revenant models within Aura 4 of Reva just deal +1 damage on their damaging attacks only, not weird potentially situational nonsense. So Luminary's Chosen, functionally similar, although it doesn't require shielded anymore. And I think that's it, but, let us know if I messed anything up. Haku. Also, for some reason, the card art's wildly different. It's way lighter in the downloadable version.
Well,
that's
we actually
not
have to
really
see
a change,
the card art now.
Well, some of it. Just a little. You get to see her belt.
She has a
Yeah.
belt.
Yeah. A little chain belt.
Little chain
my
belt.
goodness.
Yeah. Haku, Reva has a lot going on. What are your takes off these changes?
I love these changes. I think it's a great way to keep the master a relevant master. I think defense 6 is huge. Obviously, it's much easier prone to dying now because you can't just free kill models next to it, which, let's just be frank, was just super unfun.
Yeah.
And was really obnoxious with the number of models that were going to be around her, because you had Ezekiel, something zombies, and her little things.
Yeah, with the Asura Roten change, that could not have remained.
Yeah, no, there were just so many ways to get models around her that you were happy that died, and that's just stupid.
You can't do the stupid dead rider
damage
trick.
Was just, oh my god, it should never have suffered damage. Like, it was always really stupid that it did that, and now you have to actually be like smart about where you do things. You can't just like sit in the middle or somewhere and just like ping a guy to death, and you have to interact with your opponent, which I know for Rezzers players is like a really hard sell, but I have faith in you guys. Because now what you can do is just straight up kidnap people, like really easily. Drop pyro markers during start phase to kidnap people. Do remember, you won't get the once per activation part of the Tear Back the Veil.
Well, that's why it specifically says, that's why Guiding Light has the same text as Tear Back the Veil, right. So it functions.
I just want people to know that you won't get both of them.
I foresee that being a big deal.
Has to happen during an activation.
Yeah, which is a thing that generally people miss quite a bit. If anything has a limit on activations, it specifically means it can't happen when they get free stuff during the start phase or during the end phase.
That's why Ivan's secret plot that obeys people kind of sucks.
It doesn't actually do anything. Yeah, we did.
Yep, and summoning a Deva doesn't get their place kill, and that's depressing. But so yeah, they acknowledge that. I'm pretty confident by the fact that they just push the push in there, so you get it. You get to stack burning on people. You could almost argue Luminary Chosen's kind of better now, because before you pretty much were just putting it on. I'm going to say
Vincent.
Victor.
Vincent.
Yeah. Thank you.
I think it is just better now for sure.
I mean, obviously not being keyword locked matters a little bit, but not that much, because you're probably going to just keep shield bearers around her now that she is frail and killable. But that's fine. They're good models, and you get to knock people in the burning, and you can just, as I said, you can just steal people really easily and turn them into lamp ads.
Yeah, I mean, this model was like the epitome of just non-interactive Malifaux. Like, your opponent just doesn't get to flip cards. Doesn't matter what cards they've got. You're just doing a bunch of, like, solitaire and pinging damage on them, and now you can't do that. Like, I'm really glad that the stupid interaction with the Dead Rider and a billion mindless zombies that just, like, free killed almost any enemy model is gone, because that was really stupid.
You mean it's alive in Asura Rotten where you can summon 10 of them?
Well, it was the thing where you'd obey a bunch of mindless zombies, and they'd all charge Reva, and then each one would charge Reva, and she'd relent, and you'd hit her.
Oh, right.
And then she would use Enkindle the Cult to kill the zombie that just hit her, get a free pyre marker, which drew a nearby enemy model into the pyre marker, gave them burning, and did a ping of damage to them. And it happens over and over because each mindless zombie is activating, so it's a new activation each time, and so Visions of Fire would trigger each time.
Yep. That was really dumb.
It was really dumb. So it doesn't exist anymore. I don't know. I like that she's a lot more interactive. I like the stuff that she encourages your crew to do makes you want to win opposed duels. I worry that she still doesn't draw any cards. And she's fundamentally a crew that wants to win a bunch of opposed duels with enemy models and doesn't draw cards, which makes it tough to do that, especially since she doesn't have a way of handing out plus flips. But she has a very durable crew, and the combination of shield bearers and Visions of Fire is still as good as it used to be. Basically, shield bearers are hard to kill take the hit models, so your opponent attacks them, knocks them to hard to kill, or attacks like Reva, knocks them to hard to kill when they take the hit, and then they attacks Reva again and they go take the hit, place to base contact with Reva, the place puts them in a pyre marker, they gain burning, and they heal out of hard to kill, so they have to hit them to hard to kill again. And if you have two of them, they can take the hit on each other, so they're just really, really, really hard to remove.
Which is why she can't have card draw.
The cost of discarding a card each time, which makes that completely unviable. But yeah,
it's not unviable. I mean, people only have so many AP. Yeah. I mean,
it's why you can't just give her card draw.
Exactly.
I mean, they get Whispers obviously, which is going to be good. It's insane, but you're limited in how many cards you're actually going to be drawing for
Yeah.
good reason.
Yeah.
So she's good. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah, I will say, as somebody who's played Reva a couple times in tournament settings, the thing for me that always cost the most time was when you drop markers and then push a bunch of models, and that still happens outside of Reva's activation and all over the place, and I think that that's not really massively fixed, which kind of makes me reticent to play her just from a time perspective, but I am excited to see the new changes. What do you think, Doug? Reva, you gonna play her?
Like, I don't know. It's at a weird spot because I respect that Reva has a lot of game and is powerful, but I've never, like, individually been all that excited by her playstyle, even when she was, in my opinion, one of the best masters in the game, basically. I tried her. Like, I did the whole thing. I never really enjoyed it. So for me personally, this doesn't really move the needle in either direction, and I'm kind of happy I don't have to play some high-skill opponents that would be leveraging the old list. And I guess we'll see. Like, I really don't know. I don't know enough about Reva as a master. I only have like 5 reps on her, and they were just to try to figure out how the like existing awful, terrible Rube Goldberg machine had worked, so that I could play against her effectively. So like, I don't know. I have no informed opinion, and am scared and nervous, and need a hug.
Yeah, that sounds right. Reva just kind of does that. So, all right, let's move on from Reva. We'll talk about the last model that's not part of the new Lucius stuff. And before we talk about Yasunori, let's talk about his upgrades. So he gets, as one of his new abilities, these 2 upgrades, which at the start of each activation, he gets to attach one. He discards all previous ones and then can attach one. He can attach the same. There's no restriction on that. And they each have 1 ability and 1 bonus action. So Carnage gives him +1 damage to all of his melee actions, and Blade Burst, which is a 6 defense, a 6 against defense with a TN11 attack bonus action that is place this model into base contact with the target, then take a melee attack, which will get +1 damage because of a worthy foe. The other option, Composure, gives him Blade Wall, so he just flat out takes 1 less damage, not to a minimum of 0, so just still to a minimum of 1. And then a bonus action called Isolating Wind, which is an aura 4, which needs a 6 to go off, and until the end phase, enemy models treat the area within range as concealing, and cannot be placed anywhere within range. So almost like a mini Gravity Well, but on a 50 mil model with a 4-inch aura, that's quite big, and it has 2 triggers for Vanish, place this model anywhere within aura 4, and Bolster Strength, friendly models within aura 4, heal 1. So Yasunori, very different model. Let's start off with the cost. That's gone down from 11 to 10. He's also gained a health, and his defense and willpower have swapped. So he's now 7 defense, 6 willpower, and 7 defense models sometimes are hard, if not impossible, to hit. He has capped flight. He's lost hard to wound. He's lost his old defensive and move resistance trigger, unnatural reflexes, and he's also lost chasing the advantage, which gave him like plus masks, like multiple masks to duels, which is a weird thing. And instead, he's gained flow of battle, which lets you attach those upgrades. He has lost on the backside of his card Revel in Chaos, which was his both players draw a bunch of cards and then discard down to maximum hand size ability, which made the opponent discard random cards, which was weird and nonsensical and made no sense, but it sure was Chaos C, so I guess that's fine. And he also lost the Chaos Unleashed trigger. Instead, his melee attack used to have a plus flip, which is gone. So now his stats, his melee 1-inch melee is still a stat 6, it's still a 2-4-5, and it still has quick reflexes, but it's gained Duality, which is a new trigger that lets you, when you're targeting an enemy model, choose either both players draw a card or both players discard a card. It has Daze, which is really like a really strong trigger, and Thunderous Blow, which makes enemy models with Impulse 2 of this model have to pass a TN13 move duel or gain slow, which is pretty strong. And he kept Wind's Wrath, which just is a Pulse 3 bonus action that he'll always have. Move this and other models within range up to 1 inch, which just lets you reposition a little bit, get into out of combat, but it's not particularly rad. Haku, what do you think? Is Yasunori a model that you might see for the first time in 3rd edition now?
Sure. Yeah.
Wow.
Look, there's no other way to put it. Yasunori is a good model again. What does that mean for us? That means we have to deal with Yasunori again.
Yeah.
they gave him a lot of really good triggers. They gave him good upgrades. I think our good friend Pope Darpa put it really well. They took a model and made it generically good with stats and attacks, and it has no real synergy with anything in the faction. Yeah. So it's kind of weird because I honestly felt they were moving away from this direction with most of their recent releases of like not wanting just generically good model versatile. And generally they're like, oh, we'll try to have it like have these, you know, abilities that synergize with these things, and it's kind of cool. This one's just like, I hit things and then I change my mind and I 3 AP run around and do other things, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. It's good. Yeah. Good model's good.
Yeah, I mean, listen, like, is this model good? Maybe. He's really boring. His numbers are big, like big numbers. I don't know. I'm
good triggers.
Like, I'm less in love with his triggers than you are.
Daze is just stupid.
I mean, yeah, Daze is a good trigger on everyone who has it, but like, he's a dude who just does damage, and he does damage with a 2-4-5.
3-5-6.
Sometimes
3-5-6.
Sure. Sometimes it's a 3-5-6. When
Most
it's a 3-5-6, he also just dies
at 7 defense.
I mean, look, as soon as I agree with the fact that his defense number is really good, but one of the things that has consistently been like a trend in 3rd edition Malifaux is the longer the game goes on, the less your defense stat matters. People are doing things like stacking injured without opposed duels. They're doing ping damage. They're doing like weird degenerate stuff where they're like attacking your movement stat. His movement stat is good, but you can you can like stagger him. There's just all kinds of
non-stone user. He's a non-stone user.
Stat 5 when staggered.
I'm just saying he's a non-stone user with 10 health, and his only damage reduction is when he is in like crappy damage mode. So sometimes your opponent is going to be like playing an honest crew that just needs to win opposed duels with stat 6 versus defense, and then he's going to feel really durable. And sometimes your opponent is going to be like playing, Ma Tucket, or like somebody with good ping damage like Nexus, or just like any number of like, or just a model with a stat 7 melee attack like Lucius, and your 10 stone beater is just going to die in a single activation. And that's what keeps me from thinking that he's great. But his stats are really good. Like, numbers are big. He'll show up.
Yeah, my take on this model is that it is yet another 9 to 10 soulstone good model that does damage in a faction that has a wealth of options for 9 to 10 soulstone models that are good, that do damage, and you probably can't just like randomly slot him into a list because he's 10 soulstones. So he's got to be like one of the big features of it, and 10 Thunders is really, really flush with options for that already.
Are they flush with cash about it?
They are not. Only the Explorer Society are.
My bad. Sorry, I'm purple. I'm orange. Color.
My take on this is that if almost any other faction had received this exact model, and it was just called like Yasunori 2 the Electric Boogaloo, and it just like was Orcanists, or like, I don't know, like any other faction basically, they would probably be a lot more excited about it. But because it's being given to 10 Thunders, it's a consideration of whether or not you want to take it over the other options, which again leads me to the feedback that is good game design, because it's a good model that is now does a slightly different thing, but is not head and shoulders above the other options within the faction.
Yeah, I think I would hire Yasu Neverborn all day, and I think that like having a bunch of like really good generic versatile models in the faction that already has a bunch of really good versatiles means that the really good versatiles are not like, they're not all going to show up in the same time. Like, you're going to have one or two, but that's just a function of 10 Thunders, right? And it's not, I don't think necessarily it's their faction identity or design, but maybe,
So here's my big disagree with, I think, where you guys are coming from, is 6 damage on a severe is insane. For a lot of these price points that we were talking about earlier. Like, we brought up how, like, showgirls were really nice because now they don't die to a severe 5 beater, right? And there's a lot of models that are like that in a lot of crews, where it's like, oh, severe 5 doesn't kill, but severe 6 does. And that's just something that they'd never really had easy access to before. Like, I guess before, technically, you could get it with Bill if you double crit strikes, but that required the card and the suit. Now you just need this guy to have focus. who is move 7 flying, so you can't like really stop him from being wherever he wants to be, to just like murder a scheme runner, pretty much guaranteed. Like, and I also think the other big difference here, like, I'm not really sure who would hire him in this key box like faction, whereas other factions I actually think have better synergies between keywords, where they're hiring much less and less versatile models because you just get so much value out of a keyword model.
Listen, I think we should.
And Thunders has those options. You're like, Yoko, who gives a shit?
I think we should
guy.
Probably move on relatively soon, but I just want to note that, like, you mentioned something like Bill with focus. You know what Bill does? He gives himself focus on his bonus action. If Yasunori wants focus, he's going to spend an AP concentrating.
No, you're gonna shuriken him and give him focus.
Yeah, but
and Yoko,
again,
and then he'll have focus too. Go for it and kill something.
Again, and if you're talking about handing out focus with like shuriken and just there's already really good targets in the faction that do that don't cost 10 stones, that don't have to basically put on their like I'm gonna die pants if they want to do real damage. There's just so many options in this faction that do the thing that Yasunori does without the downsides of having to pay 10 stones and then fly your giant, no armor, no hard to wound, no hard to kill, no shielded butt out there. That I don't see him getting there.
All right, gentlemen, we're gonna save this for the 2-round event that will be starting off with Yasunori, and then this will be round 2. Or sorry,
Fuhatsu's a severe 6.
The guy with the cleaver, I forget his name.
KillJoy.
Yeah, so he doesn't have to be in danger to use it. Sorry.
So you mean they just...
This will be Ngaatoro and
right.
Yasunori 2 rounds.
All
now
right.
Let's go on to the biggest thing that we have to talk about.
All right.
The dopest thing.
The dopest.
Brandon?
So, you may have noticed that there is a Lucius rework. The entire Elite Mimic crew has gotten a rework in the form of the following models that we're going to talk about. So the first thing that I want to talk about before we do anything else is that he has gained upgrades. They're completely new. They're all a different thing, and there are numerous ways to give them out throughout the crew, but I think that it's important that we talk about those first, so we will. So every single one of them has the same backside. It is above the law, and it is... this upgrade is considered hidden information, so when you attach them with the above the law side showing. Your opponent's not allowed to look at them. And the model gains the ability sign on the dotted line. At the start of this model's activation, it may remove a friendly scheme marker within Aura 3. If it does so, flip a Legalese upgrade attached to it. The backside, however, even though it's Plentiful 5, are all different, and every single one of the Legalese upgrades has one of 5 different backsides. They all have different abilities, and when they flip, they all have the caveat that if this specific upgrade has already been flipped this turn by a model friendly to this model, discard this upgrade without gaining any of the abilities. It also has, after resolving all end of activation effects for this model, discard this upgrade, which means that they're going to be a constantly moving situation where they'll go and come back and be turned up and discarded. Many of them have the Greased Palms ability, all but one of them, which just says after this upgrade flips to this side, draw a card, which means there's going to be a good amount of card draw for removing scheme markers, which is pretty good. But let's start with Take a Stand. So Take a Stand says, Surprise Witness, after this upgrade flips to this side, name a non-master, elite, or mimic model. This model replaces with the named model without discarding any upgrades, so it keeps this one in place. And then Strike Testimony, at the end of this model's activation, this model replaces with the model that flipped this upgrade without discarding any upgrades and heals 2. If it cannot be replaced, it is killed. So you temporarily change your model to another model in the keyword, which is absolutely the coolest fucking mechanic that I think exists in the game, and I'll die on this hill, holy shit. We also have Wheels of Justice, which is another one that has Grease Palms, so you get to draw a card, and Ambulance Chaser. After this upgrade flips, push this model up to its move towards a friendly model or friendly scheme marker in line of sight. We have Fee Renegotiation, which just has Raising My Rates. This is the one that doesn't have Greased Palms, so after this upgrade flips to the side, draw 2 cards and then discard a card, which is why it doesn't have Greased Palms, because that would be busted. We have Legal Repercussions, which has Greased Palms and Jury Tampering, so after this upgrade flips to the side, enemy models within Pulse 3 gain 1 distracted. And then lastly, Planted Evidence. Smoking Gun is after this model resolves, an attack action that damaged an enemy model, it may discard a card. If it does so, drop a ski marker into base contact with any friendly, elite, or mimic model in line of sight that has not already been chosen for this effect, this activation. So theoretically, if you resolve multiple damage effects, you can do it multiple times, discard cards, drop ski markers, which is pretty good. And it also has greased palms. So those are the 5 different upgrades that you have, but let's see how they work. So for all of the models, basically almost every single thing has changed on every single card. So we're not going to go over the differences like we've been doing so far. Instead, we're just going to go over the new version. You'll be able to see on the screen all of the differences. They're highlighted, so take a look. But let's talk about the new Lucius one. So Lucius Matheson has the ability that we originally saw, which has now become the main sort of mainstay ability of the crew on Lucius 2 when he got released in Malifaux, or in Madness of Malifaux. Malifaux Burns. Flexible morality, which is so much better than the previous ability that some of the crew had, which is after an enemy model targets this model with an attack action, the enemy model has to either discard a card or suffer a neg flip, which is kind of similar to a bunch of stuff, but like it's easily get around with focus, so it's not too crazy. But just as a general like flat across the board thing, super neat. He has Arcane Reservoir. He now has Planning Ahead, which is weird because we sort of saw that ability on Lucius 2, which isn't there anymore. But so during the start phase, he gets to drop a ski marker anywhere within 12. And he has Entourage, the funnest ability in the game, where after he resolves the walk action, any number of other friendly unengaged models within Aura 6 get to move to in any directions. Because if there's one thing that they say about Malifaux, it's whichever master resolves the most walk actions in a game wins. Can confirm. Lucius has a 1-inch stat 6 willpower attack, melee attack that's called Cutting Words, which does 1/3/4 and gives the target slow, which is not conditional upon the damage, which is pretty good. He also has a new action that's kind of reminiscent of his old hidden sniper ability called Subpoena, which is amazing. It's 6-inch range, stat 6 with a built-in mask against willpower, but this action can draw line of sight and range from any friendly elite or mimic model. And it just does 2/3/3. It has Crow Trigger for Missing Forms, which stops the target from taking the interact action until the end phase, which is awesome. It has Draw Out Secrets, which is great. And then the built-in trigger Summons is once per activation, place the target into base contact with the model from which range and line of sight were drawn. So it's from Lucius, he'll get there, but otherwise you blip him around, which is pretty rad. He also has, I don't know, have you guys ever heard of this action before? Gather Intel, right?
Yeah.
That's not a... Oh my gosh, it's great. Okay, Gather Intel's like widely one of, I think, the best actions in the game. It's ridiculous. So it's friendly only, you can't do the same model more than once per activation, but push it 5 in any direction, ignoring other models. And enemy models within Aura 2 at the end of the move have to test Willpower 13 or they gain Distracted. And it has an According to Plan trigger, which is if the target has a Legalese upgrade, it gains 2 shielded and 1 focus for a 5 of Tomes. Okay, wild. And then lastly, we have Issue Command, his new bonus action, or kind of old bonus action, but reworked. It only hits friendly elite or mimics, and the target takes a non-bonus action, so a 4 suitless obey, suitless 4 obey, kind of. And then it may attach a Legalese upgrade, which is how you get them out on Lucius 1. And it has 2 triggers. One for the target then takes an interact action after resolving the generated action, which I'm so glad that they specified that, so it's not like a weird, confused nonsense machine. And then quick reflexes to take this bonus action again, targeting another model, which means you can give out 2 of them per turn, which is rad. Huge fan. Okay, Haku, Lucius 1. What do you think?
I'll tentatively just say he seems good. I think most people will probably agree. The Summons is a really fun trigger on Subpoena.
Yeah.
He's just going to be really obnoxious to play against.
Yeah.
On any strat that involves, standing on strat lines because of that.
Yeah.
Or strat markers. As well as the fact that, obviously Gather Intel is really good ability, but it's not as fun seeing it on a master. I think, because you generally have better things to do than just moving. You should have better things to do moving a friendly Model 5, but Issue Commands just makes up for that, I think, by a lot. Because Issue Commands with 2 interact actions is actually really insane. Double Vote can be really huge.
What's that? A ballot box, you say? Allow me to stuff it.
Yep.
Oh my
so,
gosh.
Very flavorful in that respect.
Dude, this card is dripping with flavor. Like, oh boy.
Double interact
like
is like
drip.
extra good in this GG because not only can you double vote, you can do stuff like pick up somebody else's bomb if they dropped it just over the center line and then redrop it on the other side of the center line.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah. This new Lucius has the drip, and I believe he is filled with Skibbity Riz.
And also a good smattering of swagger as well.
Oh, well, he doesn't have swagger though.
Well, yeah, I mean, he has entourage, but within the entourage action is the swagger baked in. You know?
Also, just look at him. He has swagger.
Yeah, the drip is real, unreal.
I think the old plastic had more swag than the new one.
I think, dude, this rework is so cool. Honestly, like it's really, really, really awesome.
So I like swift action on his thing that hands out legalese upgrades because so many things in this crew like turn on once you've flipped over a legalese upgrade, and you really don't want to have to activate Lucius first every single turn just to get the upgrade out to turn on the rest of your crew. So it's really nice to have two of them out so you can flip one turn 1 to turn on your crew, flip a second one turn 2 to turn on your crew, and then you have you have a little bit more flexibility.
We'll see this in a minute, but there are other ways to get them out too that aren't just entirely master dependent, which is super rad. Yeah, Doug, anybody else final thoughts on Mr. Lucius?
I think summon is annoying that it doesn't summon models.
I'm kind of sad. Yeah, when I read it for the first time, I was like, oh no, oh my god, no, he can't.
No, he's handing you your summons. You
it's a summons.
Be in court now, or
Sam,
they're going to send the bouncer after you.
You're literally a lawyer.
Typically, after the summons, you usually have 30 days to file a responsive pleading in most jurisdictions.
Yeah, but that's obviously that doesn't translate to Malifaux. Like in Malifaux, if you're issued a summons, you go with them then.
I mean, you're more right. It's more actually like a warrant. The cop's there dragging you along.
You should say arrest warrant, but I guess that'd be more dashful.
It's less of a summons and more of a kidnapping.
Yeah. It's less of a summons and more of a I'm gonna kidnap and murder you.
You know, that's a warrant. They just
feels pretty Malifaux, if you ask me.
As the judge, pretty much not the actual judge. But as the judge, he immediately goes, "Oh, you're not responding immediately to the subpoena? All right, the time to go."
It's go time, baby.
Let's take a look at Lucius Matheson dishonorable. Just like his counterpart, he's gotten a complete rework. He's same stats as before, but flexible morality is the ability that they thankfully stapled onto the whole crew, and he's got ruthless and superiority complex which haven't changed, but personal exemption is a new one. So during the start phase, discard all legalese upgrades attached to this model, then attach a legalese upgrade to this model. So he just gets one for free every round, and it's neat and cool. And he also has Fistful of Scribe, so after he kills an enemy model, it can drop a scheme marker in base contact with the killed model, which is pretty good. His dagger-like claw has seen a little bit of differencing, so it's a 2/3/5. If a friendly model flipped a legalese upgrade this turn, so this is what Sam was sort of alluding to before, so if that has happened in the crew, it doesn't have to be him, it just has to have happened this turn, so you really want to basically turn action 1 of each round, flip a legalese upgrade. Its damage flip gets a plus flip, and it's a 2/3/5, which is, I don't know if you know how damage works, Malifaux, pretty good. It's stat 7 too to boot, and it's got crit strike and cleaning up loose ends, so when resolving, this ignores hard to kill and demise, which is good. He's down the wrong path, which is a 12-inch 6 duel against willpower. Needs a 6 or at least to go off, but it has a mask built in, and it ignores concealment. Move the target up to its move. It has draw out secrets, coordinated attack, which is sort of reminiscent of what his ability used to do, which lets a friendly model take a melee action after the move. And then he also has Focus Cleansing, which lets Lucius heal 2 and end a condition on himself. He still has Secret Passage, thank God. He doesn't get to pulse out Staggered in him anymore. That's just completely gone, but Secret Passage just lets you blip from one piece of blocking terrain to another. And Peak Efficiency is his new bonus action, which ignores range and line of sight, and other friendly, elite, or mimic only can be the target. So on just a suitless 4, it happens. The target takes a bonus action, and then either heals 2 or attaches a Legalese upgrade. So he basically gives out 2 Legalese upgrades, although one of them must be on himself. Haku.
They just decided to make this guy more annoying, and I'm not sure why.
Well, I think the big deal is he doesn't just pulse out a bunch of uninteractable stagger.
But he doesn't need to anymore.
Yeah,
he just
but
gets
now he doesn't. Yeah,
positive twist all the time, like forever.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's I don't like that.
I like that.
Okay, I'll say the fact that he really abused the free scheme marker within 12, which also built in a suit, and losing that is like actually a significant thing for him. But
talk about the other models. I don't think it's that relevant.
I mean, agreed. You still lose the marker itself. The suit is easier to make up, but he's way easier to be at a positive twist to his really strong melee attack, and you're going to be doing the exact same thing you were doing before, which is blipping around the table, killing people. Yeah,
for some, they made him a better standalone model. Like, weirdly enough, they were like, oh, he used to synergize he synergized more before. Now he needs his keyword less, arguably. Coordinated attack is a much better pickup than his friendly leader mimic models taking the attack. Now, if you pull a guy like Lucius is hanging next to Hot Rod, or Pale Rider, or whoever the hell, Lone Marshal, he just pulls him towards both of them, and then you get to smack him. Or I mean, he doesn't even need to be near it. He can pull him towards himself, and then smack him. Well,
he could already
not, because it's another. But yeah, he just goes smack things. Anyways, it's less synergy dependent, and more just this model can blip around, murder things really well, and also kidnap people. Slightly better, because now he has better triggers on his force guide move. But you're not doing that. You're Seeker's Passaging. You're stabbing a guy for a lot of damage because you're plus to damage, and you're just getting some crit strikes in there. Yeah. But now, admittedly, it's slightly worse. You can't drop the scheme marker on yourself to get the ram built in. You need the card and the stone to be Severe 7.
Yeah. But he had to cut the dead weight of his keyword and just go off on his own. That was the only way he could achieve peak efficiency. Douglas, what you got? You got any thoughts on Lucius too? Lucius, if you will?
No, I mean, I think most of what the team said, I had written down as points. Nothing groundbreaking beyond that, honestly.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the Scribbity Scribe. He's so scribbly, he's going to scribble all over you. He's doubled in points cost, which is basically not relevant, but it is kind of funny. He used to be
super relevant.
He used to be 2 points.
Super relevant. The reason they did that is so when you hire Lucius 2 as a second master,
you have to pay for him.
Now,
I get why.
Pay for this guy.
Obviously you have to pay for, but the reason is, I think, flat and blatantly because he's significant. But we'll talk about it. So he's a 4-cost model, which most of the time won't be relevant. It's only relevant if you're hiring Lucius as a second master and then manually having to pay stones for the scribe, which you honestly might do. His defense is 6th now, which is great, and he's got Co-Conspirator. At the start of this model's activation, if another friendly model has flipped a Legalese upgrade this turn, choose a suit. This model adds the chosen suit to its duel total until the end of its activation. We'll see that.
And a lot of models in this keyword have that now.
It's so good. Co-Conspirator, wild. It's replaced some things that make me sad that they're gone, but are, I think, good. And it's neat. It again, sort of incentivizes you to play to the crew mechanic. He kept the Betrayal aura, which is great. So enemy models have to pitch a card to cheat fate, which is really, really strong. And he gained Flexible Morality, the thing we've been talking about, and as well as Sidekick. So at the start of this model's activation, it can discard a card to place itself into base contact with a friendly non-minion keyword model that shares a keyword with it. And it has both, so you can do Elite or Mimic, which is really important. He used to be able to bury. That's not a thing anymore. It's completely gone. So Sharpened Quill is his melee attack, which is 1, 2, 3, 0-inch range. And it has Maim and Draw Out Secrets as Stat 5, which is wild. You don't really think of using this model to do punching with, but it has really good triggers. He has a new ability called Leading the Witness, which is an 8-inch Stat 5 against Willpower. At TN 10 if you use it on a friendly or an opposed duel, I guess. But move the target up to 6 inches towards a scheme marker in its line of sight. And there's a new RAM trigger called Don't Be Late. When resolving, increase the distance that the target is moved by 2, and after moving, the target gains staggered. So you can do that to yourself if you really need to get 8 inches somewhere, but staggering opponents is pretty good. He has a bonus action called Elite Decree, which is friendly elite or mimic only. Attach a Legalese upgrade, which is how you get them out, because you'll always have the Scribe, regardless of whether or not you have Lucius 1 or 2. So you'll have at least that ability, which is one bonus action that you can take, although you can use it, Lucius 2's bonus action to do it again, because peak efficiency makes someone take a bonus action. And then he's also got I've Got Your Back with a Mend and a Preparations trigger. Scribble, what do you think? One time I was a Scribe. True story. I won't elaborate. Haku.
I mean, it's obviously just very good. Turn 1, you're just handing out a Legalese upgrade. Turn 2, you're warping to a guy, stabbing them for draw out secrets, or like any late game. Oh, you need ski markers in your opponent's deployment zone? You just hide for a while, maybe have Lucius or another model go there, warp to him, and then just poke him a couple times with a built-in tome. And then, maybe if they're engaged, you can I Got Your Back them while focusing them. But I don't know. I mean, it's just so good.
I'm going to say something bold here. You're going to hire this guy 100% of the time when you're playing Lucius.
Wow.
Auto include in the crew.
Oh my
Probably
gosh.
even when you take Lucius 2 as the second master in another crew. Like,
I mean,
he's worth 5 stones.
That's what, 21 soul stones as opposed to 16, which is already a lot. I don't know about that hot take.
Yeah, I don't know how many crews. I don't know. It's fine. Lucius 2, it's fine.
Doug, Scribe, you want to talk about him?
I think he probably keeps really accurate and meticulous notes, and I bet his work is peer-reviewed and approved on a regular process. And I hope he keeps on climbing up that corporate ladder.
Yeah. Wow. He's got no mouth.
Also, he has no mouth.
All right.
He might have a mouth. You don't see it.
No. We've met in person. He doesn't have a mouth.
He has like a little fish mouth. It's like meh.
Oh no.
That's why he wears the mask. It's really freaky to look at.
All right, up next.
Speaking of people who wear the mask, let's talk Agent 46. So this is Lucius's. It used to be his elite side henchman, or it's his guild side henchman nonetheless. We'll say it that way. No, they were both guild. Shit. This used to be his mimic side henchman, is what I meant to say. So Agent 46 is a 9-stone model. He's a henchman. He has Ruthless. He has Disguised, which is new, and he has Following Orders, which is a thing that used to be a different ability, but it's completely reworked now. So at the start of this model's activation, if another model has flipped a Legalese upgrade, this model gains fast. It no longer draws cards. He just gets fast out of the gate, which is basically means he's just always 3 AP. Enough said. That's that. We also see Inhuman Physiology, which at various times has either been on this card, even actually in the past, an ability or a bonus action, and it's back to the ability that we'll see a bunch. So enemy models ignore plus flips to their opposed duels or damage flips when targeting this model. So only when they're attacking or targeting Agent 46, they just ignore plus flips, which means it's, focus doesn't. Yeah, we did it. His melee attack Twirling Blades is a 2/4/5. Stat 6, 1-inch melee attack with crit strike. Cruelty, which can only be described once per turn, which you take this action again, with no restriction on targeting this or another, which is pretty ballin'. It has Execute, and it has Draw Out Secrets, which are all really good triggers. It is literally a trigger on every suit. Let's go. And then we also have Analyze Weakness, something you used to have, but it is stat 7 now against Willpower, which until the end phase, all damage the target suffers, ignores armor and shielded. And it has an On Your Heels trigger, so you can place this model into base contact with the target, which is pretty strong. His bonus action remains Mimic, which just lets you basically you select a target's non-bonus action that doesn't attach upgrades or list a model by name, and it can't hit masters. Until the end phase, this model may treat the selected action and its triggers as though it were printed on this card at a stat of 6. Also, it has a ram trigger for Condemn, which gives the target adversary X, where X is this model's name. In this case, it's Agent 46. So this guy has been pretty substantially reworked. Haku, you think he's hireable now?
Not a clue.
Yeah.
I'm
There's a lot of
really glad
stuff.
they got rid of the the weird inhumane physiologically obey him a bunch of times to take can't be cheated attack actions. That's nice to not have anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an always fast beater who has really strong defensive tech.
Yeah. And the best attack available to anyone, right?
It's like, yeah. I mean, it is a 2/4/5. I mean, that holds it back like a decent.
Yeah, but it has crit strike. It has stonable crit strike.
Yep.
True. But I mean, that's obviously just a resource you're putting in. But yes, having the ability to be min-4 is huge. Spoiler alerts, we don't have tools anymore. Otherwise, I'd be much more like hype about that.
Don't ruin it.
But
look, he seems like a very strong
relevant
beater.
trigger on every single suit, so like you're never really sad. Maybe Draw Out Secrets is a useless one if like scheme markers aren't relevant. But...
No, because it turns on upgrades, right? Scheme markers are always going to be relevant. You have to remove your scheme markers to flip your
for
upgrades.
the legalies. So I mean, and you're probably putting legalies upgrades on this guy because you want to obey him because he's at the front with a good attack action. So I mean, you're not wrong.
Draw a card, pulls out distracted,
I mean,
eat the scheme marker
because it's a 2/4/5.
But you don't obey him anymore. Following orders is different. It doesn't require that. So like you can obey him if you want, but there's no reason to.
Aside from just making a high quality attack.
Yeah, sure.
And doesn't it also put the legalese upgrade on him if you're Lush 1?
The obey does. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. So
I forgot that was the thing.
It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Good triggers.
Sam, what do you think? Agent 46?
Yeah, I mean, he just seems like a really high quality beater. He's pretty durable. He's a henchman. He's got disguised, and he can stone, and you can't get pluses against him, which is sort of enough defensive tech that I'm willing to say that he's kind of going to be a huge pain in the butt to remove. And he's got great triggers. He's got a good attack, and he has access to good buffs. And this crew's going to draw a bunch of cards because every legalese upgrade is worth at least one card.
The only thing I'll push back on is the 9 wounds, no. Inhumane Physiology obviously is like a fine defensive tech, but
I mean,
you're not too mad just beating this guy.
I mean, I think it's stronger than it looks because you can do stuff like put him in concealment and make him effectively unshootable.
Yeah, but I mean, I hate people who don't ignore concealment, so I don't care about that, and I don't think most relevant models care about that anymore.
Well, I mean, there are a lot of guns that ignore
concealment.
concealment.
It's really hard to get to a straight flip, right? You just have to get to the straight flip.
I think Sam has a strong point, but I don't know if it's the controlling point of winning this argument, if I'm being honest.
I mean, look, I think that we'll see on the table how good... Inhuman Physiology is a new type of defensive tech that we haven't seen before, so we're going to have to kind of see how it plays out. To me, it reads as extremely strong because of how many of the offensive buffs in this game are positive twists in some form or another. But we'll see.
I side with Sam on this, if I'm being honest. So
maybe it's just from like the models I play, right? I play a lot of models who I'm perfectly fine constantly minning out on damage.
Yeah, if he's specifically being shot by like Angel Eyes, then like I guess he's it doesn't matter as much. But if he's being shot by most things, it really does suck if they can't get the positive twist against him.
Yeah,
I agree with Sam.
All right,
on to the next one, Brandon.
All right. The last henchman for the crew is Alan Reid.
Schrickman.
Alan
Schrickman.
Alan Reid. So he's an 8-cost henchman. He's got 5 defense, 6 willpower, 5 move, 2 size. Flexible morality we've seen pop back up, which is great. He's got Nefarious Pact, which means after he activates, you get to draw a card, which is great. And he still has Diversion, which is one of the things he used to do. So enemy models within Aura 4 cannot declare bonus actions. His melee is... wildly different now. Verbal Abuse is a 2-inch stat 6 willpower attack, which is a really, 2-inch melee is where it's at. It's a 2/3/4, which isn't great, but it has a ram trigger for talk. Enemy only, target suffers +1 damage for each of its crew's revealed schemes, which means most of the time it's either going to be a 3, 4, 5 after the second round, or it's going to be a 4, 5, 6. And min 4 on a 2-inch melee that's stat 6 against willpower can only be so bad. One More Question is a great action. It's stat 6 against willpower, 8-inch range. Target gains slow, and if they're engaging any models, it takes 1, 3, 4 with Surge and Coordinated Strike, which are both really good, but that's how it's always been. And he's still got Boring Conversation, because why not? Boring Conversation Diversion. That's unique, and we don't see that anywhere. But Aura 6 goes off on a 6. enemies have to take a TN10 willpower duel every time they do any non-walk action in his aura or it fails. Haku. Alan Reid.
I think he's at the same point, kind of almost Agent 46 is for me. I think his back of cards really nice. The verbal abuse obviously is kind of insane. Being able to be mid 4 willpower attack is wild. I don't know if we've ever had one of those. Like, that's something that is pretty unheard of. Getting to min 3 willpower used to be like a big thing. So having mid 4 is actually kind of insane. My only worry again is if he is too frail to get in there and get that attack off.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Haku. I think that's what I thought when I looked at this model. It was like, he's got a lot of really good abilities, and he's got diversion combined with boring conversation, and a 2-inch to kind of like try to outrange some stuff. But it also feels like you jam him in where you want him to be, and then you hope he stays alive.
And flexible morality is a lot worse than inhumane physiology, in my
and like,
well, I've played this guy against him a bunch of times, and he's had a lead line cloak every single time I've played against him. So I'm just assuming he's going to have one.
Yeah,
that's fair.
In red, you'll
That is
always
a fair
have it,
assumption.
for sure. And in that, I think it significantly improves the survivability. But in purple, you don't get that. So
yeah, but we're talking about real factions.
yeah,
that's a good point. Agent 46 is a lot better in red.
Yeah.
Look, there's only 2 lead line cloaks.
So do you guys think that 2 of the new common models you see are like Alan Reid with a lead line cloak and Agent 46 with a lead line cloak, like both of them coming out of red?
I think you definitely slap the bloodline code in Agent 46 without a doubt. I think Alan Reid might just
I think if you're
not
playing
be worth it.
Bro, you got to keep this guy alive. This guy is squishy AF without a lead line cloak.
Well, he's saying
That's what I'm saying. I just don't think I pay the 10 soul stones. I agree with you. He's basically a 10 soul stone model and takes up your lead line cloak, and I'm not sure I'm there.
I mean, he's really, really annoying. He's zip.
Well, so
if
then
there's
maybe
really good,
literally
like,
is
easy
zip
to declare
guy.
turn 2 schemes, you know what I'm in. Like, if you can get your schemes declared early, like, it's weird because he's gonna be like dependent on scheme pool, like from a declaring standpoint, which is, I guess, something like 10 Thunders has had to think about before, but not really good.
I mean, it's interesting because what he used to do was he used to have quick wit, so he'd make you slow, which means you'd be stuck basically engaging this dude who has diversion and has boring conversation up, and you have 1 AP, and he's just sort of creating a tar pit in the middle of the table. And I don't think there's any of the slow attacks left in the keywords, so that like tar pit style just fundamentally doesn't work anymore. And I don't know if I like him as a damage dealer because I just don't. I think it's too like so much of the game, like the critical engagements happen on turns 2 and even 1 now, and on turn 2 and 1 he just like doesn't do anything.
Yeah, I also think so. Here's my other thought on him, right? Based on what we're talking about, like he is a model that is expensive and has a bunch of really powerful aura-based, like aura-based abilities, and you have to make sure that diversion and boring conversation are going to be effective in the pool, in the matchup, and when those both are green lit, this model becomes amazing. But then, like, when neither of those are particularly relevant, I kind of start to think about him how Haku thinks about him, which is like, all right, that's like 10 soul stones that are doing what for me? But like, I think that that's how I view this model, is I look at it and I say, is diversion and boring conversation live in this matchup? If it is, let's fucking ride, baby. If not, maybe let's fucking leave this at home, baby.
I think the number of min 4 attacks you were going to take with this guy is very low. I just don't think your opponent's going to let that happen. They're going to go for him. He's not super hard to remove. And like, they're going to just not declare their first scheme until turn 3. And that way they have 3 turns of engagement to deal with him, which is a lot.
He's a potential turn 2 min 4 beater. Which is
no, he's
funny.
not potential turn 2.
Well, I guess you can't ever. Yeah, you keep. There's
He's
currently
a turn 3 min
there's
4 beater.
currently no schemes you can reveal during turn 2. But
Well, there might be though. There can be.
Gentlemen, this change is near and dear to your heart because you are both lawyers, and you both basically look like these guys on these cards. So
Cavatica?
What are we doing? Cavatica next? Cavatica, a lawyer?
Yeah, I particularly.
Yep.
I really like Haku's, bug appendages on his face. I think they're adorable.
Yeah, Haku's bug appendages have really come in the teal color in the summer when they change
real
after
good
he
care of
molts.
them.
Yeah. You brush them every day. So let's talk enforcers for this crew. I will suffice to say, Alan Reid, interesting play. Let's see where he goes. So Cavatica changed, which not only has big ramifications for Lucius, but also for Cadmus. But so right off the bat, he's a 7 cost enforcer, 7 health. He has disguised, which is rad. He has superiority complex, which means he takes 1 less damage from models with conditions, which is usually a thing. It's helpful. He's got inhuman physiology. The enemies ignore plus flips and oppose duels when targeting him, which makes him pretty survivable, I think, in a lot of cases. But he has a brand new ability, which is really good, called Siphon Power, which you may have heard from before. Oh boy, Siphon Power, what a guy. He's got a fancy cane because this is the crew of fancy canes. It's a 2/3/4 attack, and it now has a mutilate trigger to slow people, or +1 damage if they're already slowed, and tear off a bite to heal. He's got an action called Called Out, which has been reworked a bit. So it ignores concealment, and until the end phase, friendly models ignore cover, concealment, and friendly fire when targeting the target. So once you hit them, they're lit up for everyone to see. Which weirdly, also this 12-inch willpower tool that doesn't do damage has a trigger on every suit. As beautiful clothes for Tom, the crow is blood loss for injured. The ram is elite maneuver, which another friendly elite mimic or Cadmus model may take a non-bonus action that doesn't attach upgrades or list a model by name targeting the same model, which is wild.
It's like coordinated attack, but not just
it's coordinated obey, really. And then a mask for get in there, so a friendly minion within line of sight gets to push 3. He's also got Creep Along, which is pretty standard, box standard, and he used to have. And Twisting Mist, a new ability that's a 6-inch. You need a suitless 6 to go off. Target heals 2 until the end phase. Enemy models treat the area within aura 3 of the target as concealing, which you can do on enemies and then make them suffer from their own concealing aura, which is kind of neat, I guess. But it's 6-inch range, so maybe not super likely. Haku, Cavatica.
I mean, obviously this model is kind of cracked, but probably more so in Cadmus than Mimic, because I don't know how much value you're getting with Called Out in Mimic, just because, or Elite Mimic, whatever. Just because you don't do a lot of targeting your own models, and I think this is where it really shines. Nexus has like a weird problem where they want to target their own models, and then they suffer from concealment and can't make their TNs. So this is a really great way to just ignore that, while also, moving some minions around the board, which Nexus has Cadmus has a lot of. Also,
or just
Inhuman Physiology,
Cadmus make attacks. Like, you can let Nexus make an attack through you.
Yeah, if you're targeting an enemy.
Yeah, this is a master obey. You can obey masters with this. Kinda.
Yeah, which is kind of insane. And to me, it's really funny to give Inhuman Physiology with superiority complex, because you get the meme of like, well, I don't want to use focus, but if I don't, you have armor. Which is just kind of funny to me.
Yeah, that's kind of fun. I also think, remember what I said about like a model with Inhuman Physiology and concealment? Well, here's a model with Inhuman Physiology that makes his own concealment.
Yeah, while also just heal 2ing a guy for 6.
Heals himself for 2 and is concealed. Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a thing.
Yeah, also the fact that he has...
honestly, you just can't bring, like, if you bring guns that don't ignore concealment against this crew. Whoops.
Also, he's got a, he has a melee attack. He has a trigger for an extra damage, if they're already slowed. Yep. He can not even stone for it, he can just siphon power for it. And in the Cadmus keyword, siphon power is free.
It's better than free. Like, it hurts your opponent sometimes.
No, you can't.
Right, they removed that. It's only on enemies activation.
But, no, it's not that. It's that the way the siphon power is worded, the model taking the damage makes the choice. It's not.
No, I meant from damage. You used to damage your own guy with it, and then that was the damage.
That is also true. It still does not do that anymore.
Well, I mean, it's irreducible damage, so you actually can pass it along. You just still take the damage.
I thought they changed the pass it along to only be during enemy activation. Oh no, it's only during friendly activation.
Yeah, it's during friendly.
Only
it
still
still
works. It
still works. It's just you.
If they remove the pseudo armor, right? Oh my god.
But you know what?
You can attack somebody and go mutilate. I'm building in the suit, and now you take 2, then 3. Anyways, I liked Cavatica before in Nexus 2. I didn't play him a lot in Nexus 1, but I'm probably gonna now.
Yeah, wild. Yeah, I think this guy's really strong. Doug, you want to talk about Cavatica as an aspiring Nexus player?
Like, I think it's a really cool, interesting rework, and it fits in at a point cost that in all of my other lists was just my second spell eater. So I could slot him in very easily and like see how he works out. It's interesting to me that I believe isn't Kanahurst 7, isn't Ahul 7, and isn't Cavatica 7, and isn't a spell eater 7, and isn't your mom 7, Sam?
No,
I gotcha.
She's a little older.
Okay.
Not by much though.
She's a little older. Yeah.
She's a 9 out of 10.
Yeah, she's a 9 out of 10. She's a lovely lady.
I'll tell Nina you said so.
Hi, Mom.
Anyway, my point.
Not even, right? Yeah.
She'll never listen to this, but
Sam, does your mom listen to our channel?
No, my dad does though.
Oh my gosh!
Then he'll laugh his ass off when he hears.
He's not going to make it this deep in the video. He always gives up.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway, my point is that a 7 cost slot in that could be usable is interesting to me because I genuinely find that basically all of my lists are either one of those models. I have yet to make a list work that has both Kanahurst and Ahul in it, but it's probably because I love spell eaters so much that I don't want to relinquish one. But relinquishing one of 2 is okay. And Cavatica is an interesting slot in, and I am going to spend a bunch of time probably tinkering around with him and seeing where I like him and when I like him.
Wow. All right, well, let's move on to the model with the most and simultaneously least amount of skin in the game. I painted mine glittery, so you gotta. So we have the Doppleganger. Quite down, Sam. So we have the Doppleganger. She's an 8 cost enforcer. She's got 5s all around, 6 movement. She has Don't Mind Me. She has Disguised. And she has Inhuman Physiology. Because she's a Chad. She's got 8 health, which is fine. So she used to have Manipulator. She lost that. But we also, much like our friend Lucius, have a dagger-like claw because they're the same species. I think Lucius is a mimic. That's not hard confirmed in the lore, but it is though. So it's a 2/3/5, and if somebody's flipped a legalese upgrade, you get a plus flip. And she also has a mask for reposition. Although, unlike Lucius, this one's not stat 7; it's stat 5 for now.
It's stat 7.
We'll talk about that. So lure is an action she has. Move the target. It's moved towards this model. Stat 6, 12-inch range. Need a 6 minimum. And it has a ram trigger for love hurts, so they take 2 damage, and a mask for reposition. Tactical actions, we have blend in, which has been reworked significantly. So this model may treat this action as a bonus action if you want. Place this model into base contact with the target, which is a 6-inch range, and it goes off on a suitless 4. If the target is an enemy model, until the end phase, this model just has concealment, which means anything, it just has it. You don't need to worry about where it goes. You just have it. You did it. Yeah, things, that's what we got. So Mimic, so what Sam was talking about earlier, Mimic, we saw that on Agent 46. The stat for this Mimic, though, is 7, like it was before, thankfully. So if you Mimic, selecting as a bonus action this model, you could copy its dagger-like claw, except it's stat 7. So it is stat 7. We did it.
This is the Lucius we have at home.
Yeah, very much so. Except this Mimic has a mental trauma trigger, so you can discard a card or suffer 3 damage, which you probably don't want to do if you're mimicking your own dagger-like claw. We did it. Doppleganger. Still angelizing? We doing other things now? What's up?
I mean, I think a lot of the time you're just mimicking yourself. You're just getting another set of stat 7 dagger-like claws. Like, that seems fine to me.
I mean, I guess.
It's not, like, amazing. I mean, don't get me wrong, you can lock into the severes, but I don't know how often.
I think the floor of stat 7 dagger-like claws with the upside of whatever else you need situationally / what you built the crew around is good. Like, straight up. Like, straight up is good.
The downside, when you're not getting that to go off bigly, is I guess you're just mimicking a gun or other good things. Realistically, now Blendon's just insane right now, right? Like, you just warp all the way up the map.
Yes, it is insane. And the way you look at this card is that your dagger-like claw is a stat 7 when it needs to be. So your base level attack is a stat 7 dagger-like claw that ideally, when you're hitting the thing, has its damage flip baked in, because it's not that crazy to flip a Legalese upgrade. So you probably can. And it's got blink movement, which is fucking dope. Like, I really like this model a lot.
Yeah. The blend-in change is pretty wild. Because it used to do the concealment thing, but it used to not teleport you anywhere within 6 touching a model.
Also meant you weren't mimicking.
Yeah, and it meant you weren't mimicking. But now you can still do it as a bonus action if you don't want to mimic for some reason. But that reason is because you're going to do it 2 more times as not bonus actions, you know?
This model's dope.
Yeah.
This model's dope.
It's not even hard to just see yourself be like, I want to be in my opponent's deployment zone, like next to their opponent, and then move forward.
This model is fucking dope.
Can I just add one thing that I'm sure that none of you have thought about? If, depending on how you built and painted this model, if you put it in your opponent's deployment zone and turn it facing you, they have to look at its awful backside that's just like weird skin. And that could tilt someone. Just saying. Competitive tournament, Malifaux. That's a strat.
Every edge
9
counts.
games. All right, what do we got next, Brandon?
All right, so the next model, I want to talk specifically about his elbow, because I think that they intentionally included this in the errata because they heard our previous bit about his elbow so that they could cover it up with his move, because you can't see it anymore.
Funny.
If you look at the old card, at his elbow, it's a little face. And it's not anymore because they covered it.
They removed my little smiley face. Oh,
Yeah.
that's so sad.
Isn't that great? I think it's just for you, Haku, and nobody's going to convince me otherwise. So Wide Eyes is a 7-cost enforcer who is both Mimic and Return, so he works for Castor. He's got Hard to Wound. He's got the new Inhuman Physiology. He's got Made to Kill, so when he places, he gets a melee attack, and he also has a new ability called Undulation. If this model would heal in excess of its maximum health, it may move up to 3 inches. Which is pretty good. He is Hard to Wound, which is nice, but he's only defense 4, which kind of blows. And he's got 9 health, but for a 7-cost enforcer, 9 health is quite a bit, but Hard to Wound, defense 4, I don't know, willpower 5, yeah. His melee attack, Shuddering Shape, is a 2/4/5 that gives him shielded, which is nice, and has Tear Off a Bite. Although it's stat 6, it's not built in. So 1-inch melee, Tear Off a Bite, that's not bad. He has Terrorize, which pushes the target, the enemy model, its move inches away from this model. It's 8-inch stat 6 willpower, and it's got defensive reflexes to get to get shielded. It's almost like this guy wants shielded. Too bad he can't build in Rams. And then on your heels, he's got Nowhere to Hide, which lets you reduce the value of shielded on this model, or any models within Pulse 3 by any amount, and you heal equal to the total value of shield reduced this way to a max of 3. Which has 2 triggers. Neverborn Myth, which is how it used to be, so friendly return or mimic models within range can push up to 3 away from this model. And the new Terror of the Change Paths, which has been reworked, is enemy models within range have to take a TN12 willpower duel or gain slow. They used to just take a damage, but that might be better or worse, I don't know. His bonus action, finally, is Unnatural Speed, which is a 3-inch attack, 3-inch tactical action, needs a 5 to go off, and it's place this model anywhere within range. Which reminds me a lot of Paper Tiger, because he just places within range, although you do need to flip for it, because once you place, you get a free attack for Made to Kill. And then he has a built-in Ram trigger for Racked with Spasms, which used to be a front of card ability, which this model suffers 1 irreducible damage, and then models within Pulse 1 suffer 1 damage, which is kind of neat. Haku, what do you think? Wide Eyes.
I am excited, because this model used to be probably unplayable, close to it. Man, defense 4 is just really bad. But now, essentially, they can never, ever, ever be at a straight flip.
Unless you like Black Joker.
What?
Well,
If you flip the black
Joker
and they beat you by
flip really high, yeah,
they naturally flip.
They don't get the plus the damage, and then they just get moved Hard to Wound down to negative.
Oh yeah, or damage.
They can only ever be at a negative.
That's how
flip.
that works. That's how that works.
So they'll only ever be at a negative. Most of the times they're going to be at a double negative. Don't get Red Jokered is going to be the Lamau meme on this.
I mean, realistically, it's don't get hit 3 times with a min 3, which is the problem he had before, of course.
Right. The new benefit, though, is he now actually gets to try to crap out damage before he dies at 7 cost. Mostly in return. I don't really think you'll see him in Mimic much. The Undulation is obviously huge in return. There's a lot of excess healing going around, wanting to have excess healing. Now you can do it to this guy, moving forward. plop them down, take your free attack, do your free bonus ping damage in an aura, which is kind of just insane to have on a natural speed, and then just eat a guy to death. Realistically, you can just have this guy like run off to the side and be like, you know, your scheme strat killer, because you can give him double focus pretty easily. A little sad he lost stealth for that, but you know, we'll see how good in human physiology is that once we play with it more. But
I miss Unnerving Presence. That was a cool piece of tech that he doesn't have anymore.
I think Inhuman Physiology combined with Hard to Wound is not to be discounted.
That's it's very strong.
Spicy meatball.
Yeah,
the fact
I
that
think
can never get to straight flips is really relevant. But as we kind of went over, it's like, how many good min threes do you have?
I mean, I get it. Yeah, there's always the min 3 audit check that happens, right, to some level in the game.
But this guy in return should have a good amount of shielded.
But I want to focus on what one of you two Muppets just said, right? One of you two very wonderful, educated Muppets. What if he's just like the guy that goes out on the flanks and fights schemers? Seems really good at that to me, right? Especially because of his movement tech. Position him out, go kill a schemer, flip him back towards the center to fight and be a little tanky mid-late game when everything's a little bit more hurt. Maybe can pull off shielding, get a little bit more health back. I like this guy. I think he's good.
Yeah,
I'm a White Eyes stan.
Yeah, I am worried about his survivability, but I do think that it is definitely worth talking about the has concealment until the end phase and hard to wound situation with Inhuman Physiology. That's going to be kind of a hell of a drug, and I think it's going to take a lot of people off guard. Well, let's we're finally running down. We got only a couple models left. Let's talk some minions. These guys are changelings, the little faceless guys, little faceless kiddos. They are 4 stones, defense 5 now, which is a nice change. Willpower 4 still. They have stealth, they have disguised, they have sidekick, and now they have inhuman physiology, which doesn't really interact with any of those things, but still a thing. They only got 4 health, but they are only 4 cost minions. The backside of their card has not changed. So they have unassuming demeanor. It's a 1/2/3 that ignores neg flips, or treats neg flips as plus flips. They have Take by the Hand, which is a great bonus action. You'll see on the Doxies, they use it to great effect. You need a 6, and it pushes 3 towards. It pushes the target 3 in any direction. Then you push 3 towards the target. And they have On the Wrong Side, once per turn, target an enemy scheme or terrain marker. If the target is a terrain marker, this model may discard a card to drop a scheme marker into base contact with it, then remove it. So it's going away either way, but you get a scheme if it's terrain. You don't get a scheme if it's an enemy scheme, which is interesting to have to pick.
Probably just a worse model now. I don't know.
It doesn't draw a card every activation anymore.
You can't focus kill it anymore, which I guess is huge.
I mean, okay, they're still incredibly annoying little bastards who I hate. Stealth and Disguised on a 4-stone significant model that teleports around the board, like, sucks. I hate that. But they don't draw a card every time.
Yeah, but the biggest change is now, like, you draw so many cards elsewhere with all the legalies flipping that maybe you can afford the psychic cost. Because I remember that was one of, like, the big problems. Is you really couldn't afford to even get psychic off.
Right, so here's my take, right? Like many of these models in this errata, again, good game design here. I think this model is relevant when what Sam said is true, and Sidekick also enables one of your schemes to be scored. So, like, coming from the perspective of just loving models with Sidekick that are relevant and hireable, like, this model feels strong to me in a pool where you need something where, like, you're scoring with him actively and you can leverage his AP usage as well. And when Sidekick is not as good and it's not being enabled by either the strat pool or the opponent or whatever reason, it feels like you're probably not actively looking to hire him, in my opinion.
I mean, when is Sidekick not good, though? It's a 12-inch teleport on a 4-stone significant model that doesn't cost an AP.
When he needs to be
markers in the back line.
No, I mean, I get it. It's strong, but I'm saying that's the thing that I key in on, and I ask myself, is this really, really good in this matchup? And if it is, then I'm going to really look at this model. If it's not, for whatever reason, then it's not going to be as strong.
I guess on, like, Raid the Vaults, I don't care about him as much, but in all the others, being able to teleport around and then interact is just so good.
The answer is, yeah, you're spot on. The answer is, when you're asking him to stand statically in place and survive to do a thing, he's probably not that good at it. But get to a place, interact, get to a place, like, be near another model for XYZ reason. Fucking aces to me, boyo.
So my big worry always when hiring, like, these low-cost models like this is them dying and then you losing activation control in those games.
It's, like, really hard for these guys to just die, though. They have stealth and disguised.
and also
Nasty
the new
combo.
and their new
The
defensive tech.
only reason I think it's actually hard, Stealth Disguise is annoying, but if you're placing them to interact with a strat marker, they're dying. To most people, because they're not charging you, they're bonus action moving to you and killing you. But now they can't be focus attack.
Yeah, they can't be
moderate
focus
for,
attacked. Yeah, you can't be.
and that's
literally
pretty huge. You have to just like luck the moderate, which it still is like a 50% chance, but and otherwise it's taking you 2 AP to kill them, or some other weird way to get 4 damage on one attack.
I like the little loop of being able to sidekick to somebody, then like do something and then take by the hand. I like take by the hand, but I will say these guys kind of make me sad because they're just worse Kruligans.
Take by the hand just always tilts me because it always comes up when I have concealing. Like I need to use it, and then the model has concealing, and I just get so tilted.
There are a lot of models that are worse Kruligans. Kruligans are like the best 4-stone models in the game.
I know, but I just want.
Kruligans are better than most of the 5-stone minions in the game.
Kruligans are better than most minions
I'm
in the
kind
game,
of
Sam.
all right,
Manipulative is so much better than manipulative.
Yeah,
Brandon,
manipulative is very bad.
Where are we going next on our whirlwind tour of the elite rework, top to bottom?
Well, speaking of 4-stone minions, let's talk about a new 4-stone minion. Not new minion, but newly 4 stones. False Witnesses have dropped a point. They are now the best Kruligans. No, so they are a 4-stone model. They got 5s for stats. They have 5 health. They have flexible morality, which is a thing we've seen a little bit before. So if enemy models target them, they have to pitch a card or they're at an egg flip. This model has... and also worth noting, these guys are both elite and journalists, so they've been reworked for Nelly as well. They have Distraction, which is a great ability. Enemy models within Aura 2 suffer an egg flip to willpower duels, and we found a lot of willpower duels, including a min 4 willpower duel in Alan Reid, but probably not. And then we have Chasing a Story, so enemy models within 8 that resolve the interact action. If that happens, this model gains focused. An exclusive interview. When an enemy model within Aura 2 takes the interact action, it is treated as a friendly model, and it is controlled by this model, which means, although they are very killable at 5 to hit 5 health with like Distraction and flexible morality, if you camp them by a strat marker that's relevant, it could be really, really ridiculous. And that'll only get people one time before they never let that happen again. They have Jacques still, which is really important because that's hilarious. The only real change is that it does adversary enemy now, which is pretty wild. But target gains adversary enemy. If it's engaging a model, it does 1, 2, 3. It has a trigger for Slander, which gives out Distracted, and does an extra damage if they're near a scheme marker. And Debt of Gratitude, which is an amazing trigger, which makes them remove a scheme marker friendly to its crew from anywhere in play. If it can't, it takes 2 damage. So 2 and then 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3 and then 2. It has a new bonus action called Cry for Attention, which is a 6-inch stat 5 attack against willpower with a built-in mask that gives out Distracted, and the mask trigger makes that's built in is the target must pass a TN12 willpower duel or push its move towards this model, which probably isn't something that you really want if you're getting out with the guys, but it has, I think, a lot more synergy in the Nelly crew. We still have False Claim, which is an amazing tactical action that just auto scores Ensnare by itself. This action can be taken while engaged. Drop 2 ski markers anywhere within 3 inches. During the end phase, you do have to remove a ski marker from play. And Tell No Lies until the end phase, which is just 6-inch aura ability that just happens. Until the end phase, friendly elite, mimic, and journalist models within range always cheat fate after enemy models in opposing duels. During an opposed duel, if both models have this benefit, the effect is ignored, which used to just say models can't cheat within range, which is pretty bullshit. But it used to also be 3, so it's bigger now, and it's a full action instead of a bonus action. I don't think that's really going to happen very frequently, but what do you think, Haku? False Witnesses, you gonna hire one?
I mean, probably not.
I feel like
hire the first one because it sets up your legalese flips.
Yeah. False claim does a lot of work in this crew, even when it's not specifically relevant to the strap for the scheme pool.
No, it just sets up your legalese flips so you're not taxed on AP to do it. That's what they're for.
Yeah, and if you're running real hot,
all markers, then it's not like amazing.
Yeah, if you're running real hot and just removing both of them and then not putting any more down, then you get 2 for free, and that's pretty rad. But
I mean, these guys are
you're not
real
setting
cheap.
up in the future.
Yeah,
How's it to 7?
They cost 4 stones though.
They're so cheap.
I don't know. Just to have someone take the interact action turn 1?
No, I mean it's also like, subsequently in the game they do your opponent has to. They're not hard to kill, but your opponent has to actually do it.
Yeah,
they have to go kill them if they
they're
want them
4
dead.
costs. And they're 4 costs. I think Sam is right. I think these are very playable. You're not probably taking. I think you're taking literally 1.
Yeah, I don't think you're ever hiring a second or third.
But I think you take 1 a lot of the time. I think you take literally exactly 1 a lot of the time.
Just false claim's a good action.
Yeah,
I mean, false claim is good. I don't know about a lot of the time. I'm like halfway in between you guys and Haku. I don't know.
Here,
I think
you know what?
bonus
Okay,
move sucks.
Check it out.
The fact that if he dies, you lose activation control.
No. Check it out.
Scary.
15 stones out of keyword, 3 of them into Cornelius Bass. All false claim near him. Bonus action, draw 6 cards.
New beta, bam, instant meta.
All right.
Bam, triple S tier.
I hear what you're saying. No.
Just wait till mid game Asura rotten. You have 10 zombies. You command them all to move and then drop a scheme marker, and you just plop down 10 scheme markers. 1 bonus action.
All right. Well,
okay.
Let's talk Guild Lawyers. So 2 minions left. I know this has been a long episode, but there's a lot going on.
We're almost done.
Guild Lawyers. They're 1 point cheaper. We don't need to talk about anything else. Let's move on to Investigators. No. Okay. So the big deal that we've spoiled already, unless I cut it, was when Haku told us they've lost tools for the job, which means they're not going to be an auto hire in every single red crew period, which is amazing for the health of the game and how bullshit that was to play against. So huge fan there.
They also don't have Obey anymore.
Done. They also don't have Obey anymore. But so they're still defense 4, which is kind of whack. They lost a health, but they also went down a point. So there's 5 cost, 5 health, 4 defense, 6 willpower, and they move 5. They have the co-conspirator ability that we talked about earlier. Is the other model, the last model in the crew with it, which means if somebody's activated illegalese, they get to build in the suit for free. So that's still a thing that they have, which is somewhat relevant for a couple things. They have Sonya Creed's totem's defensive trigger on defense and willpower, which they can build in if they've activated, which is if they suffer damage, the attacking model suffers that damage too, and it's when resolving, which means they'll always take it, which unless they ignore resistance triggers, but that's pretty wild. Balance the scales. They also have the best named ability, I think, in the crew now, Objection, which is after an enemy model with an aura 6 cheats fate, it suffers 1 damage. Their defense 4 or 5 health. I don't know how relevant that'll be. And they also have flexible morality, so if an enemy targets them, they have to pitch a card or get an egg flip. Sharp Wit is unchanged. It's just a 1-inch melee, stat 60 against willpower. The target gains slow, under pressure trigger for push 2 inches away. They lost their mental trauma trigger. That's gone now. But Probing Question is their new other attack, which is an 8-inch stat 5 against willpower attack that does 2, 3, 5. So they actually can do damage now, which is pretty neat. And it has Draw Out Secrets, which is really good, especially because it can automatically be built in, and Drain Magic, which same reasons, wild. They also have Belabor the Point, which is hilarious, although the font on that one makes it real hard to read. So if you don't know what that word is, I'm not going to be super mad if you say it's Belatter or Delatter even. But 8-inch range, stat 6, TN12, tactical action, friendly, elite, or mimic only. You can't target the same model more than once per activation. Drop a scheme marker in base contact, which really, really effectively sets up the ability to just flat out turn on their upgrades, the flip their upgrades when they activate. And they still have Impassioned Defense, which is really good. And it has Surge, which is just target gains shielded on a suitless 4, 2 shielded on a suitless 4. And it has Surge and Quick Reflexes, which again, you can build in automatically. So like you're probably drawing cards off this guy. He's doing stuff still. Haku, Guild Lawyers, what do you think?
He's why you don't hire false witnesses. This model is pretty good.
Yeah. I
mean, he has the problem where he dies again, but goddamn, any low mask, you're taking your opponent out with you. So if they want to chunk you for 5, they chunk themselves for 5. But Belabor the Point is just, in my opinion, just what you actually wanted False Claim to do. I mean, don't get me wrong, False Claim sets it up for turn 1. This sets up their turn 2 activation. So you can move your guys forward, and then you actually get to throw the marker forward essentially while staying still, and then they'll have it on their next activation, which is really nice. Or any model you move forward will have it. And then obviously drawing a card's broken, shielded is nice, especially on your lead line coat model. So you're really happy about that. Being able to build in Surge consistently is insane.
I want to say that these guys are bad now. Because I do think their card is bad, but they do enough in the crew that you hire them, so whatever.
they enable and turn on the crew in a really cool way.
Yeah,
like
I mean, look, impassioned defense giving is like just always going to be 2 shielded draw card, which is a pretty fine fail case. They're so fragile.
Sure, but that's by the nature of like that makes sense given the role that they are in the model they are. They kind of should be, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's fine. I get it.
Yeah,
I think this is an example. In my opinion, this is like, you know, the Shia LaBeouf YouTube video where Shia LaBeouf stands up and is just applauding after the psycho killer in the woods coming to eat you, Shia LaBeouf, and then he stands up and applauds. That's me right now for this specific change and the Damien change, because this is a change where they took a wildly overused OK that was warping the format of the competitive landscape, specifically within Guild, wildly warping. And they were like, no, fuck that. And they made it instead into a roleplay enabler model that is kind of a hire that you take at least one of to turn on your core facet abilities and still retain shades of what this model used to do functionally, but is now just, you just can't have tools for the job on demand anymore, Guild. We're sorry, that was fucking stupid, and we all kind of agree. So now we're going to turn this into a model that is good in its keyword. You probably take one, maybe you take two, and it turns on your core abilities and plays nicely with what we're trying to do from a design perspective, where we're funneling people towards keyword-centric focused gameplay. Like, man, do I love this change to this model.
I also think that Tools for the Job is like Weary Road in that it's an ability that we are done seeing new iterations of.
Yeah, it's grossly powerful.
I like Doug's. Doug made the best point, I think, which is you can cosplay as Phoenix Wright and then just start shouting objection.
Did Doug make that point? I didn't hear him say that.
He said you could role play.
he meant that it played a role, not that. But
nope.
yeah.
Nope. You can role play.
Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, sure, I'll take it.
Well,
yeah,
look,
sure.
I have one last.
Doug W.
I have one last point to belabor. All right, and that is the final model in this keyword rework, the Investigator. So Investigator is now a 6-cost model. So we've seen a trend. All the red models got a decrease in points. It's kind of bullshit. What the fuck, Wyrd? But 6 stones for this new lad or lady. They have flexible morality, and they have 2 new abilities. On the case, which is after a ski marker is dropped within 6 inches after resolving the current action or ability, this model may push a friendly model with line of sight to the marker up to 3 inches towards it, which could be this guy, could be someone else. Really cool. And finally, set up for success. After this model resolves an attack action targeting an enemy model that's within 2 inches of a ski marker, either flavor, it may draw a card, which is pretty neat. And defense 5, willpower 6, got 6 health, so they're a little killable, probably a bit more than they used to be, because they used to be more health. And we see once again verbal abuse coming back. It's 2-inch stat 5 willpower this time, 2, 3, 4, and it does not have the trigger that what's his face there had to the talk trigger to make it min 4, which kind of makes me sad. But it has "You're coming with me," so push the target 3 inches in any direction.
I'm also sad that the 6 stone doesn't
contact.
have a min 4.
I wish this 6 stone had a min 4. That would be really good.
Things.
Sorry, Brandon. I know it's a disappointment.
No, I'm sad. I just like verbal abuse. That's what I'm into. So I was hoping. All right. It has "You're coming with me," which means you can sort of set up it's set up for success with "You're coming with me," which is neat. Surprise shot is their ranged attack. It's an 8-inch stat 5 gun that just has 2, 3, 4. Nothing else going on there. Leading the witness is a new action, which is an 8-inch stat 6 willpower duel that needs at least a 4 to go off. And you got to beat, if it's opposed, your opponent, and you move them up to 6 inches towards the ski marker in its line of sight, which is an attack that could target an enemy model. Just saying. And it has a crow trigger for delay to give out slow, and it has a tome trigger for focused attention, which says this model gains focus, so the Investigator gains focus, which is pretty good. And then their new bonus action is unnatural speed, 3 inches. You need a 5. It's just a suitless 5. Place this model anywhere within range. And there's a tome trigger for tagged and bag, which says this model may remove a marker in base contact with itself. Any marker, which is pretty good, because you don't have that a lot in like Neverborn if you're hiring these guys there. What do we think? Investigators. Are they the least or best gator that we've reviewed tonight? Haku?
I don't know how I feel about this card. Some people were hyping it up because you just get to draw a bunch, which is very true, but I mean, you have to attack an enemy. Being able to unnatural speed is obviously really good. And it steals ski markers. No matter what, you're hiring one of these guys, though, right? Because on the case, it's just an insane amount of movement for your crew.
Yeah, I think so. Because you're dropping
everywhere.
So many ski markers. Like, you've gotta, and it's in line of sight with no range for the model that is doing the moving. This marker has to drop within 6 of them. But any model that can see it can move towards it, which is really cool.
Investigator doesn't need to be able to see anything involving that ability. I mean, you guys can tell me if I'm high, but she doesn't need to see where the ski marker is.
It's not an aura.
And she doesn't need to see the model she's pushing either.
Nope, line of sight to the marker.
The model just needs to be able to see the ski marker. So all she needs to do is be within 6 of the ski marker, which is insane. It's just really weird. They
hide her
in a line of sight stuff.
Here's a thing to consider, Haku. I agree with you. I think crews basically start with one of these models. And if that is true, then we know that verbal abuse is a stat 5 willpower melee. All of a sudden, false witness gets a lot better as a buddy companion because of the distraction aura.
No, you don't want false witness in melee with enemy models.
Okay, I'm just saying, could be spicy.
You mimic it to steal the 2, 3, 4, make it stat 7 willpower attack.
Stop it. No, you obviously you mimic. No, you mimic Alan Reid to make it stat 7, and then also still do min 4.
Honestly, is that why you hire Alan Reid, just so you can later mimic it? I'm not against this.
No, no.
He's like I'm just here to get be a mimic target.
No, doppelgangers don't cost fucking 16 points. That's not a thing. Yeah, I will say I do like the Investigator. Sam, you got any last thoughts on this guy? Doug,
no, I mean, you always hire at least one. It just scoots around the board drawing cards.
They do so much scooting.
I think
I don't know if you risk putting this near enemies just because of how
you don't need to be that near an enemy.
I guess you're right. You just need to be within 8.
Yeah, just need to be within 8, and scoot. You can leap around. You can leap away.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
scoot forward, shoot a guy, and then just leap backwards. Yeah.
Yeah, you scooty boot around and you take surprise shots at people and take your on the case.
Or trigger. If your enemy has low willpower, you're charge the enemy. Cheat a decent mask if you've got one. Pull them out of position and then jump away behind a wall or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Got options.
It'll be interesting. You're hiring one.
Yeah, you're definitely hiring one for sure.
I have 2 thoughts I'd like to share, and then we'll wrap up. But firstly, I love that as a lore building thing, that all of the models in this keyword that used to have garrots now don't, because they've been outlawed in Malifaux, and instead just have to shout obscenities at you. That's great. And also, get in the comments if you can tell us what happened between Tannenbaum and Yedza and why they broke up. Maybe that's a scoundrels question, or defective dice in the lore channel. We'll get on it. But anybody have any closing thoughts on literally anything? I mean, we've talked for quite a while about a pretty extensive rework of a bunch of cards over every faction.
I think I am continually impressed and excited about the ability for Wyrd to take things, and I think this one is the best example so far. They've taken models, they've brought them down to earth, they've identified really extreme problem models, they've fixed them in a genuine effort way, and they're also, as an organization and a company, they're not just trying to push a new thing and sell as much as they can. They've actively now gone back in a model that was really kind of forgotten in Yasunori. They made an effort to redo it. They've gone back now in an older keyword line that is really beloved by a lot of the player base. They've redone it. They, on the heels of already giving us an Oni rework, it's really cool to be involved with a company that puts this much effort into the care and maintenance of their game and every part of it, and not just always focusing on the new models that are coming out and pushing those. They always look backwards and try to bring up things that are in the past that are older and maybe less used and bring them to relevance. Again, with a showgirl, they did it as well. They even said that in their errata notes. That's what they were doing. And it's awesome to see. And I'm excited about it.
Yeah. I do just want to, before you say anything else, Sam, I did say every faction, and I know that I regularly emit outcasts, and I apologize, but there were no outcast models errata in the errata-ing of this errata. Sam, please continue.
So I just want to say, you guys asked about what happened with Yedza, right? So Tannenbaum and Yedza driving back from Thanksgiving at Yedza's house. They're both a little drunk, silence for a while, and Yedza's like, so do you think my sister's hot or anything? And Tannenbaum's like, what are you talking about? And Yedza's like, well, nothing. You were talking to her all night. And Tannenbaum's like, no, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this, having this conversation with you. And then like 3 days later, his shit's on the curb.
Yeah, that checks out. That tracks.
Because he couldn't just say no.
Yeah, man. That's how it works. You got to be careful with that shit.
Thanksgiving is a dangerous game with sister-in-laws. Let me just tell you, I've learned that lesson more than once. That's why I got divorced all those times.
I wanna agree with Doug. I absolutely adore this errata. This is great. Honestly, I think this is like my favorite errata ever. The only one I'm confused about is Yasunori. I don't really understand it. I get that people like the model and you want to make cool. I almost wish they just like try to like force it into a keyword somewhere.
Oni used to be an Oni.
Yeah, I wish they like force it into a keyword somewhere. That would have been better. But yeah, now people get to play with it. The model changes were absolutely amazing. I can't think of one I was actually like, why did they do that? No, all of these make a lot of sense.
I mean, I'm pouring one out for the hopeful prospects not being able to turn into stuff anymore, but they're way more functional as a model now.
Yeah, they're not a meme, dude.
Dude,
they're not a meme.
They're still pretty meme.
Obviously, they took that away and gave it to Lucius, but only temporarily.
It was just really funny because I really like that they changed it because it was really game swingy. Because you brought it along to get condition removal, and then you accidentally killed a model, and then now you are way ahead on soulstones for no reason. Or it was a win more mechanic, which just doesn't.
It was a huge win more mechanic.
Yeah, it was a huge win more mechanic, and sometimes it just like catapulted you into the lead for no reason. Now it's just like a decent model who can do things while also being condition removal.
Yeah, I mean, I can tell you, I never made that work without deliberately playing in suboptimal ways to set it up. Like, it was funny, but it was not a real rule.
I've had it happen once where I just like didn't kill a guy on accident, like when I was trying to, left him at 1, and then I'm just like, all right, screw it, fuck it, I'll try to shoot him, and then I just like flipped red on a negative flip with the gun. And I was just like, oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, wild stuff. We have talked a lot. I think, quite frankly, enough. So I'll cut it here. Thanks so much for listening and watching, everybody. If you haven't already, jump down in the comments. You can find a link to our Discord. That's where we hang out and chat and plan all this stuff. We have a Patreon. You can check out that. Special thanks to our Patreon supporters who are flooding across the screen now. You guys are the best. If you check out our Patreon, we put this file up that we were using to make this video, which is this cool like comparison contrast thing that I did, and you get some cool stuff. Check it out. That's what I got. Anybody have anything else they want to say before we say goodbye to the internet?
Bye, internet.
I will miss you, the internet.
Okay, bye, the internet.
We'll see you again soon.
Okay, bye.